Join Woodward Sports' own Jeff Iafrate, along with special WSN guests for the most anticipated Lions season in decades. Filled with different surprises and expert analysis. You're not going to want to miss out. Go to our Woodward Sports YouTube channel on Sundays and tune in live from 9:30 to 11:30 a.m.
What's going on, everybody? Good morning. It's the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. Man, oh man, it's Thursday. Got another packed show planned for you guys today. Jeff Iafrate, Sam Flannel, Brandon Dent, and KG holding it down for JB, who is still out. We love you, JB. I know he'll be back next week, expected. So get the rest, JB. Enjoy your division win. Take your time. We love you. I can't wait. A lot of stuff to get to today. Lions, talk some Red Wings. We're getting John Macaroon on to preview this weekend and recap what transpired this past weekend. And we're going to talk a little Michigan versus Alabama.
Let's go.
You see the thumbnail, the Mike Tyson meme. Yeah, I made Ryan do it. It's perfectly fitting because today we're going to get into the matchup tomorrow. We'll give out our score predictions. Tomorrow's going to be a packed show as well, guys. Micro Mike's joining. Got him confirmed. So shout out to Micro Mike. He's going to take time out of his day to join us. We'll preview the Michigan-Alabama game, Lions score predictions. The next two shows are going to be a lot of fun. But right now, let's get into it. How's everyone feeling today, Sam Flannel?
You know, I'm feeling good, but you mentioned it at the very beginning. One of the things that I think has we don't have to get into this too much, but has sort of like flown under the radar in terms of the sports in this city. We're all high on the Lions. We're all talking about the Detroit Pistons and how historically bad that they've been with this losing streak, but the Detroit Red Wings are kind of in process of blowing their season as well, and it's a little bit frustrating because I had high hopes. They started out so strong with like DeBrincat and Larkin setting the world on fire, and now they're out of the playoff picture, I believe. So very, very disappointing.
Yeah, they're 2-8 over the last 10 games.
Yikes.
And not just that, they faced a Minnesota Wild team that was 7-3 over the last 10 games. So it was a team that's trending downward versus a team that's trending upward. And there's a lot of more problems to get to. I know the easy thing would be to say, well, Reimer's bad, right? Blame the goalie, which is honestly kind of fair all year. Yes, the goalie's been a problem, but it's more than that. Like turning the puck over at the blue line, like they're turning the puck over. They're giving up 2-on-1 situations. They're putting their goalie in compromising positions. So it's not just Reimer. There's bigger fish to fry here. There's a lot more issues. But interesting enough to kind of speak a little on Reimer. And I saw this stat too, and I couldn't believe it. Reimer has allowed, James Reimer, the goalie who's been struggling, and along with all the rest of the goalies for the Red Wings, James Reimer has allowed 24 goals in his last 5 starts.
Ooh.
That is insane. Now, it's not just James Reimer, but that's a big part of it. 24 goals in 5 starts, Sam. Not a big numbers guy. That's not great.
That's about 5 a game.
Yeah.
You're gonna lose.
It's hard to win some hockey games when you're giving up 5 a game.
Yeah,
that's fair, right?
Yeah, no,
Okay.
that's 100% fair, and they better get it together because, like I said, especially with DeBrincat being acquired, some of the other guys like Gottespier or Ghost, I feel really awkward always saying his name. Guys like that, free agents from last year. You look at some of the young guys like Raymond Insider. I thought that this was going to be the year where they made the playoffs, and it was looking pretty good at the very beginning, but lately, I don't know, and I don't want to get into this too much, but if the Red Wings do blow their season, does the air of invincibility over Steve Yzerman's head maybe dissipate just a little bit? I gave him a little bit of flack, said that this was a big year for him, but there's a lot of people that will worship at the chapel of Steve Yzerman, even if they were to go 0-82. So that's all.
No, that's. I blame the Pistons, Brandon. I don't know why. I don't know how. It must just be LCA. And I know last night they were on the road, but I'm still blaming LCA. There must be an aura in this arena that is just like, we need someone to go in that arena, do like one of those sage things, and just get the bad spirits out of there. It has to be LCA. It has to be the Pistons.
It has to be.
I'll accept no other excuse.
And I was chuckling, too, because, whether you agree with the sports takes or not, that Detroit sports is Sam's life. You asked him, how you doing? And he just went right into, the Red Wings, and the Lions. It was funny. But, yeah, you know what? I think LCA needs to do the right thing by Isaiah Thomas, man, and build that man a statue.
Yeah,
that's what I think is going on right now.
That would free the demons.
Yeah, look what happened with the Lions. Look, they finally honored Barry Sanders. They made it with Calvin Johnson. Things have looked beautifully for them now. I want to see the sports town not just talk about it, not just advertise it, but actually be about putting on for our stars. Like Steve Yzerman has really no representation in this city as one of our greats, the captain. Isaiah Thomas. Like, I want to see that type of stuff go on, and then maybe LCA will start to have a little bit better mojo going on, because I can't really explain what's going on with the Red Wings. You know, they started hot, and now it's just like, what's going on? I mean, even the Pistons, they started 2-1, and now they've lost 27 in a row.
Yeah, it's
a whopping 2-1.
Yeah, it's a whopping one. All right.
I missed the hat. Can
Got
you
off
miss the
to a
hat?
torrid start.
Yeah, here's the thing too. I still have faith in the Red Wings. I mean, it's a problem. They're turning the puck over and they're putting their goalie in compromising positions. And I just gave you the numbers for how many goals he allows over his last 5 games. 24 goals, I believe it is. So, listen, this is the NHL, and Patrick Kane kind of spoke about that yesterday. Like, if you get guys easy looks, most of the time they're going to convert. Like these are guys that typically are the top of their game. Like, there's a reason why they're in the NHL. So it is defense. It is goaltending. I know Spenny tweeted out, get a goaltender. You can go get a goaltender. You got to give me options here and who's available. But the other part of it is, like, they still got to be better defensively. It's not just all. I think people would assume you get a new goaltender and all these problems just vanish. And I don't think it's that easy. I think there's a couple other things they have to figure out.
Maybe bring up Simon Edvinsson at this point.
Yeah.
At this point, I mean, come on.
And that's fair.
I don't see any reason why they're not. But it's all well and good. They can still right the ship, although, man, it's not looking good. I'm very disappointed. But at the end of the day, the Lions did win the division, and I would pretty much take all other teams in the city imploding, even just for a year, for the Lions to get one division, because it's a Lions city. When the Lions are good, this city is on absolute fire in the good way.
Richard says it was Jeff Daniels and Peyton Manning lifting the curse with the whiskey. Can we bring Peyton Manning and Jeff Daniels back to LCA to perform a ritual to lift the demons out of LCA? And that's more so affected the Pistons, but for some reason now it's traveling even over to Minnesota to affect the Red Wings. So I'm with you. Let's the Bobby Lane curse doesn't exist in LCA, but I don't care at this point. Just start doing rituals. Get it over with. Another thing that happened yesterday, I know Neil took a victory lap with this. I thought this is kind of interesting. Broncos are officially benching Russell Wilson. Like, he's done. The Danger Russ experience is over. And Jordan Schultz, who works for Bleacher Report, does great work. He tweeted out kind of an explanation for this. And at first I was reading it because, again, it was contractual reasons because of a guaranteed money if you were to get injured. He has an injury guaranteed, what was it, like $39 million next year, I believe it is. And if he can't pass a physical by early March, he'll make an additional $37 million. So if they cut him before June 1st, they're able to cut him. So I think that's why, and now you saw the report, they're going to cut Russell Wilson. I don't even know what landing spot makes sense for Russell at this point. Like, he's just, statistically, he looks good. But if you watch the last 2 games and just most of the season, I think he's had a bounce back season, but he still doesn't look like Russ.
No.
Like, he looks like a mid-tier quarterback.
Well, and it's also the contract. I think that plays a large factor in it. The trade, everything that the Seahawks got, the fact that the Broncos are going to miss the playoffs for the 2nd consecutive season while paying Russell Wilson way more money than what he's worth, which is in the case of most quarterbacks anyway, but still, I think that plays a bigger role in it. Obviously, last year was a complete and utter disaster. He had the worst season of his career. I believe the Broncos won 5 games. This year, they have improved. I mean, I think Sean Payton has helped. Russell Wilson actually has 26 touchdowns and 8 interceptions, which I know a lot of people will dismiss as nothing, but just remember, and a lot of you aren't going to like this, but I just have to say it, Russell Wilson has more touchdown passes than Lamar Jackson has passing and rushing touchdowns combined. I just have to put this out there. I'm not saying Russell Wilson's better than Lamar Jackson. I just think a lot of people who are just taking a victory lap and crapping on him are a little bit, your priorities are in the wrong spot, but at the end of the day, you just can't pay him that much money. And I think what was really the death nail is losing that game to the Patriots at home when a win would have put them in really good position to make the playoffs. You just can't do that. And now, even though their playoff hopes are technically still alive, that was just an implosion that can't happen.
Well, I guess they approached him after the win over the Kansas City Chiefs. That was October 29th, and they told him they'd make him inactive for the rest of the season if he did not adjust his contract and defer the injury guaranteed trigger date that he has for 2025. Well, Wilson has $37 million in injury guarantees for 2025 that will become guaranteed no matter what on the 5th day of the 2024 league year in March. So, and that was Russell Wilson coming out. That was after a 3-touchdown passing game from Russell Wilson against the Chiefs. So, even though they beat the Chiefs, they were like, listen, man, we ain't paying you that next year. Like, we know where this is going. You're not a part of our future. I don't give a damn what happens the rest of the season. Even if we make the playoffs, this is going nowhere. So, for Sean Payton, on to the next quarterback. It is what it is. I saw a comment because asking the question, where do you see Russ going? And someone brought up Atlanta, and then Trisha put, Future lives in Atlanta.
Yeah,
that's a no.
That's not happening.
I don't think. Yeah, I don't think he wants to be within a 1,000-mile radius from Future. I think he'd have to go even farther than that.
If he did play there, he wouldn't live there. I know that. So
yeah, no way. I know people put in Tennessee. I know they got Will Levis though, and I think they're going to keep Will Levis and roll with him. A Saints.
somebody said
He's
the
just
Vikings.
cooked. Yeah, I would take Kirk Cousins. I mean, I will see what happens with Kirk. You're right, but he's cooked. Like he's not bad. But I can't imagine anybody that gets Russ are like, yeah, we're in the conversation now. Like, here we come.
And that's the thing.
Like, that's a problem.
If you're going to get somebody like Russell Wilson, you're looking to, just by name recognition, just by a team that probably has some talent on their roster, you're looking for somebody who can put them over the top. And I think the Broncos, that's exactly what they thought, and obviously that didn't happen. I don't know if there's a place for Russell Wilson. I think next year he might even just end up being a backup who has to... I mean, not because he's better than he's good enough to be one of the 32 starting quarterbacks in the NFL, but just with everything that comes along with him, a potential contract. I don't know. He's kind of effed his career in Detroit, Denver, unfortunately for him.
Does this prove that Pete Carroll was the brains behind the operation the whole time?
Oh, he's an incredible coach. I know how great he is, but that's the thing about Russ is, he likes to just. It seems like at times where he thrives is just kind of playing backyard football. Like he just was out there running around making plays. But when things are scripted, like Sean Payton, and I agree with Funky here. I said at the moment when they hired Payton that Russell would get benched, the two of them are oil and water. They just don't mix. It kind of seems that way.
Yeah, the writing was on the wall.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like Russ and Sean Payton are a good mix anyway.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Hey, Broncos, one of the worst trades in recent history.
Yeah.
I mean, how much they gave up to get Russ, and now they're cutting him.
Well, yeah, of course, and
terrible.
that plays a big factor into why Russell Wilson was such a failure in Denver. But I also think I get it that Sean Payton and Russell Wilson probably weren't a good match from the beginning. But when you go through a season with Nathaniel Hackett and you have an opportunity to get Sean Payton, a Super Bowl winning head coach who obviously had a great partnership with Drew Brees, you try it out. And obviously, I think some of the results were actually good. You saw improvement from Russell Wilson's play, but you also saw them get into it on the sideline a couple of times. I just, unfortunately, man, if you're the Denver Broncos going forward, like, what do you have to look forward to? You're just in purgatory at this moment. Actually, purgatory right now is with Russell Wilson and probably drifting into hell.
Yeah.
Who's going to be their next quarterback? You have no idea.
And they don't have the first-round pick this year, right?
I don't think so.
So, like, Sean Payton's first year, it's like, what do? You just lose and get a good draft pick? No,
Look at the Lions, man.
Yeah, you're
breaking curses, breaking teams like the Raiders, and breaking players like Russ. He was on a 6-game winning streak coming in, right?
And they just smacked him upside the head.
Look at the Lions, man.
New Lions, brand new Lions. Speaking of quarterbacks that may be cooked, Aaron Rodgers. He said some things about the NFC and the NFC North. And I want to get to those comments in a little bit. He was on Pat McAfee, and I want to see if we can get the clip. But if not, I'll read you some of the comments he had because it does relate to the Lions. And he did speak on the Lions winning the NFC North. You'll hear his comments, and we'll talk about the NFC in general. But first, I got to tell you about our friends over at Hamlin Pub. Ever wanted to be at a bar where you're known as a regular? Well, we have just a place for you. It's Hamlin Pub. They got 7 locations. The experience where everyone is a regular. Half off pizza on a Thursday, and it's Thursday. You can head over there. And I don't know if you want to watch tonight's game, but hell, if you want to, have some drinks, get half off pizza, or game day specials available all for all Michigan sports and NFL games. Hamlin Pub is the place. Visit a location today and experience your new favorite pub for all things sports.
Since the dawn of moving people, Chevrolet has led the way. The world of transportation is changing. At Feldman Chevrolet, we are leading the charge forward. With every electric vehicle, every mile traveled, one Feldman at a time. The company that puts more Chevys on Michigan roads is now the #1 name for Chevy electric vehicles.
Have you ever wondered where all the finest restaurants get their steaks? It's Fairway Packing Company, providing Michigan restaurants, hotels, and casinos with prime beef for over 60 years. But now you can buy these cuts of meat for yourself at the Steak Shop by Fairway Packing Company. Prime porterhouse, A5 Japanese New York strip steak, dry aged Wagyu beef tomahawk. Delicious. Get to the Steak Shop today. Enjoy fine wine, have a private party, and get the finest cuts of meat anywhere. The Steak Shop on Mack Avenue in Grosse Pointe Woods, or order online, fairwaypacking.com.
We've just received word. The world's cannabis supply has vanished. The public is outraged and has taken to the streets in response to this tragedy. The individual responsible acted alone, and we can only hope they will make things right soon.
Join Woodward Sports and Long Drink live every home game for the official Lions VIP tailgate party. It's at Eastern Market in Shed number 5, and it is always a bash starting at 9:30 a.m. until game time. The official Lions tailgate is back and better than ever. How would you like to pregame with Woodward Sports and be treated like a VIP? Food, beverages, and entertainment all included. Get your tickets online today at bullseyeeventgroup.com or win some from Woodward Sports today. Just subscribe to our YouTube, follow us on IG, and direct message Lions VIP.
Did you notice yesterday on social media any extra Merry Christmases to you from Detroit, since now that you have left the division, they have won their first division title in 30 years, and how do you feel about the Detroit Lions finally doing it?
Not happy. I mean, although I'm in New York, I definitely still want the green and gold to take the North every year.
Oh, yeah.
But they got a good football team. Jarrett's had a really nice season. Obviously, St. Brown is a fantastic receiver. There are a lot of guys, two really good backs. Jameer's had a really nice year, and always been a fan of Montgomery. The way he runs the ball, his toughness. Line's really good on both sides of the ball. Defense been playing good. So they got a good football team. So they're going to, host a playoff game. I think the NFC is pretty deep. I think we can all agree on that, right? It's when we saw. There's got to be some NFC teams feeling better if they watched that game yesterday and saw how Baltimore, beat San Fran. Philly's been up and down. Dallas has been up and down. Detroit's, had their moments too where they haven't looked great. Probably should have lost to the Bears. Packers beat them in Detroit. So, I think the NFC's pretty wide open. AFC is interesting. Obviously, Baltimore looks really, really strong. There's a lot of teams still alive for kind of the 7th spot. Buffalo's ascending. Josh is playing really good football, and they're starting to run the football well. So it's going to be interesting the last couple of weeks. A lot to play for a lot of these teams. There'll be elimination games.
Look at that. Aaron Rodgers. For a second there, I was ready to square up, and then he said some nice things. So then we're good now. I was ready to shred Aaron Rodgers. And then, you know what? He actually said some nice things. He did give Detroit credit. He likes the running backs. He likes Amon-Ra St. Brown. He thinks Jared Goff's playing some good football. And the comment that stood out, and it's something that we've been saying, is the NFC's wide open. And when you hear that, you're like, well, obviously, I don't think it's that. I think for a while there, we're like the 49ers are the team. Kind of like the AFC, you're like, well, the Ravens are in a different atmosphere right now. And then you have all these other teams that are kind of competing under them. We thought it was the same in the NFC for a while. The 49ers look vulnerable. So for the Lions, you're coming off a big win. You win your division. You're in the mix. Like the Eagles, and we'll get to our power rankings later, our top 10 Thursday, not top 10 Tuesday. We're doing it on Thursday today, and you'll see where we have the Lions and the rest of the teams. But he is right. The NFC is wide open. And he said it's deep, which is kind of fair. There's a lot of teams that are kind of in the mix. But Aaron Rodgers giving a little bit of love to Detroit. I know he said the BS, I root for the Packers still. I hope they win. He's got a lot of time on his hands. I thought he was coming back from injury. I thought that was happening.
Fraudulent.
Making fun of an injured guy.
I'm not making fun of it. He said it. It came out of his mouth.
All right.
He said, I'm coming back this season. Because the guy got a surgery that I guess has never been done in the history of time, which allows him to come back in like a couple weeks. I didn't know it was possible. But regardless, what'd you make of his comments about the NFC?
Well, about the NFC, I think one of the things that stood out to me is that every team has their warts. And I know they mentioned it on other shows yesterday, but you look at even the mighty San Francisco 49ers, when they lost a couple of players in the middle of the season, like Trent Williams and Deebo Samuel, even they went on a three-game losing streak. You look at the Philadelphia Eagles, they lost earlier this season to the Jets, and that was a game in which Jalen Hurts just had a bunch of turnovers. And obviously the Dallas Cowboys, they lost to the Cardinals. And the Lions have had a couple losses that I think they wish they could take back as well, like at home against the Packers, for example, or at Chicago. I would say that there's no team that's infallible, although I do still think the 49ers are the class of the NFC. When I looked at some numbers on NFC teams, I was actually kind of surprised by this. And it leads me to believe that the two best teams in the NFC are actually, believe it or not, the San Francisco 49ers number 1 and the Dallas Cowboys 2. But the Cowboys will have to go on the road for their playoff games, and I think they'll eventually lose in that one, because the San Francisco 49ers and the Dallas Cowboys are the only two teams in the NFL, not just the NFC, to have a top 5 scoring offense and a top 5 scoring defense. When you look at the Philadelphia Eagles, their defense is bottom 10. The Detroit Lions defense is bottom 10 in scoring, and you saw the Philadelphia Eagles at some points during the year. They gave up 2 phenomenal games to Sam Howell, which I think is aging poorer and poorer as the season goes on. They gave up one of the best games of the season to Mac Jones. They obviously got their head taken off at home by the 49ers, and they lost to Dallas and got killed in that game as well. And then you look at the Detroit Lions. Unfortunately, they're a team that also, even though I think their defense has been better than some people think, it's still a bottom 10 scoring defense in the NFL. And you gave up a legacy game to Geno Smith. You gave up the best game of the season to Lamar Jackson. You gave up the Jordan Love legacy game. You've given up a couple of good and turnover-free games to Justin Fields, although that one fumble, the closeout, didn't actually count as a turnover. It might as well have been in the game that the Lions won. So I guess my point is that the NFC is wide open. I do think the 49ers and the Cowboys are the two best teams, but the Cowboys will end up getting the 5th seed. So I still think it's the 49ers to lose. But even the 49ers, when they play careless with the football, when they lose a couple of guys due to injury, you can sneak up and beat them as well.
And it seems like, at least early in the season when the Lions lost to the Ravens, everyone freaked out. Hey, it's over. Season's over. Yeah. Lions are done. They're finished. But as the season progressed, Sam, every top team has been blown out.
They all have.
Every top team has been blown out. And that's what I said after the Ravens game. And I think people had for a minute there when I said, all right, everyone relax. It's the NFL. It's concerning, but they're going to get over this. It's not a huge deal in the entire season, the context of the entire season. Now you're seeing it. The 49ers just got blown out. Dallas lost to Arizona and got blown out. You have the Philadelphia Eagles who got blown out twice.
Lost to the Jets.
Lost to the Jets. So the Lions, they've only had 2 stinkers. True stinkers, like they lost to, because the Seattle game I wouldn't call stinker. It was an overtime loss. They didn't get the ball in OT. But the Ravens game stinker, and that Bears game stinker. That was bad. So I understand that. Now we'll see this week, but the NFC is wide open. And again, for the Lions, at least offensively, besides how the 49ers looked prior to this week, they look like the best offense in the NFC.
Well, when their offensive line is healthy, I think they most certainly have been. I mean, if you even look at the numbers, I would say that Penei Sewell has been the best tackle in the NFL. Frank Ragnow's been the best center in the NFL, and Graham Glasgow is right up there in terms of guards in the NFL. They've been absolutely spectacular. Their running game when it's on, which has pretty much been almost every game this season. Nobody can really stop them. And of course, when Jared Goff is protected, he can be very, very effective and pick the defense apart as well. So offensively, I don't doubt their ability, at least in the first round of the playoffs, to score with anybody. I guess the one where I would worry about them is them maybe potentially having to go on the road to Philadelphia or San Francisco. But the one thing that travels, and I know this is one of the oldest cliches in the book, is a running game. And I don't foresee...
The trenches travel. There's no doubt.
I don't see the Eagles being able to stop the Lions on the ground. I'm not saying that the Lions will run for 200 yards on 6 yards per carry, but I think they will be able to get some chunk plays on the ground and move the football. I think they could even do that against the San Francisco 49ers. There's no juggernaut. I thought for a while it was San Francisco, and by the numbers they still kind of are, but at the same time, they had a 3-game losing streak. And in the 3-game losing streak, I know we talk about the injuries, but Brock Purdy played, Christian McCaffrey played, Brandon Ayuk played, George Kittle played. Everyone on the defense pretty much played. It was just Debo and Trent Williams. So they're vulnerable as well, and they just got blown out to the Baltimore Ravens in a game where Brock Purdy threw 4 picks.
Jeff Olson says, NFC is wide open. Niners are the team to beat, but any team could legitimately make a run. Well, let's see. Crazy Clown says, is Joe Rogan doing the surgery on him? It's a fair point. Could be Joe Rogan. I think he's the only one that could do a surgery that would allow Aaron to return in weeks' time for an Achilles injury. Let's see. Nobody says, here we go, Sam sucking off Rodgers. To be fair, you didn't suck him off today. You did pretty good.
Well, and here's the thing,
good.
And this is where I have to give Aaron Rodgers and I think most of the chat some credit. I know we were all prepared because one of the headlines is Aaron Rodgers said that he's not happy that the Lions won the NFC North, and then you actually listen to his comments and you're like, fuck this guy, and then you hear him talk and you're like, oh, he complimented Jared Goff, he complimented Amon-Ra, he complimented Monty and Gibbs. It's actually not so bad. And he mentioned how every team pretty much has some vulnerabilities and it's wide open. I think that was just sort of his inner former Packer in him coming out and being like, oh man, when I was there, the Lions never won. And then when I leave, they pop up and win one, and probably more down the road when I'm gone. And for the record, if he were with the Packers, I still think the Lions would have won the division. It's not like Aaron Rodgers is gone and the Lions all of a sudden, but at the same time, I understand where he was coming from. And I actually thought he was pretty complimentary to the Lions.
Yeah, I did too. As much as I wanted to kind of come after Aaron there.
Yeah.
I watched the clip before. I already kind of knew what the clip was, and I thought, okay, he was fair. It wasn't out of pocket. He gave some love there. But still, the Packers, Jordan Love, no. I think the Lions, this is their division for the future. I do. We'll see. Unless Jordan Love turns into a Hall of Famer, I think this is going to be the same storyline. You see Jair Alexander get suspended too?
Yeah.
For going out on the field and doing the coin toss when he wasn't even a team captain. Matt LaFleur literally already picked up the team captains, and Jair said, nah, I'm going up there. We're in Carolina. It's my hometown. See ya.
They're
Deuces.
Still in the playoff race.
I know.
What is Jair Alexander doing? I mean, I know he hasn't had as good of a year as he's had the previous couple of years, but he's still a guy who's been an All-Pro and been a Pro Bowler, and he basically just effed around and got himself suspended for no reason.
That is fair.
That's clown behavior. It just is.
Jim 3 says, for the record, we beat Rodgers in his last 2 games. I saw another comment too, talking about, let me find it, mentioning how his last this one, Lunchbox Hooligans, Rodgers' last completed pass was still to Kirby Joseph.
Yeah.
He's not wrong.
No, he's not.
He's not wrong.
It was a great moment for the Lions.
Let's go to break here. When we get back, we're going to be joined by the great John Macaroon, who is the publisher for All Lions and, of course, host of the Detroit Sports Podcast. He'll help us break down some of what Aaron said, but also to preview this weekend's game, Dallas, Detroit, and kind of talk about last week's game, Minnesota, Detroit. Until then, though, got to tell you about our friends over at Premier Pet. Sam, could you do that for us?
Oh, absolutely, because Premier Pet is the best place to go to get your pets all of the best toys,
Aaron Rodgers,
food.
if I'm being real, he's Kirby Joseph's pet.
Oh, well, that's a little
Dog
bit.
walked him.
That is a little bit too far, but you know what? The Lions benefited from it, so I will allow it. Give your pet the best, like I give my golden retriever Jake and my orange cat Milo the best, and I gave them the best for Christmas. They're still happy about their presents, and Premier Pet Supply is hands down Michigan's best pet store. Same prices and all the conveniences of the online and big box retailers, with one major difference: family and locally owned and operated for 30 plus years. Over 60 brands of food with nutrition experts to help you. Same day, local curbside and home delivery. Premier Pet Supply gave your pet the best. Visit their website at premierpetsupply.com.
Calling all landscapers. This is Darren McCarty. I'm at Outdoor Equipment Co. How would you like to landscape like a legend? How about a bad boy zero turn? And even a chainsaw. And even a weed whipper. Whether you landscape for your job or landscape for fun, get all your equipment from Outdoor Equip Co., the official equipment provider of Woodward Sports. Michigan grown, family owned. OutdoorEquipCo.com.
Woodward Sports' own Tom Mazaway and Sam Stick Day will be hosting our Lions postgame show after every Lions game all season long. Tune into the Woodward Sports YouTube channel for his hot-off-the-press takes, game analysis, and Kool-Aid sipping celebrations. You won't want to miss it. Join Maz, Stick, and special guests each week immediately following every Lions game, exclusively on the WSN YouTube channel.
Your home is your most important asset. Flexibility in the sales process is key. When you work with Mark White and Associates, you can cancel at any time, for any reason, without penalty. Speaking of flexibility, check this out. Who you work with matters. Hire the best broker in the game.
Let me tell you about our friends over at Jack Labrador. Guys, I know Christmas is over. Doesn't mean you can't still get a great, fun game you can play with you and your friends. It's a heads-up play that'll have you on the edge of your seat. It's the one deck that brings 3 games to the table. Perfect for lazy, last-minute shoppers. You got a birthday. Maybe you got a friend's birthday coming up. Why don't you get the Jack Labrador? It's fun. You drink, you play Jack Labrador. It's a lot of fun. Scan the QR code above or go to www.jacklabrador.com and get your decks today. We're back. It's the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. Rocking my St. Brian t-shirt. It's my guy. You know who else is my guy? John Macaroon, publisher of All Lions and host of the Detroit Sports Podcast. The great John Macaroon. John, welcome to the show this morning. How you doing?
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Bless, guys. How you doing? Can you hear me?
I can. What's up, John? How you doing?
Man, I'm blessed. First and foremost, want to do a quick, because I'm a caring health professional, want to do a quick welfare check on Brandon. Everything okay, Kool-Aid? I know you got the job. But listen, do me a favor. Dial up Tom Goris and tell him to tell Monty Williams to not play Alec Burks because he sucks.
I love the John shot. We get one John shot a week. He comes on and just throws some strays at the Pistons. That's why I love John. John, I want to ask you some of what Aaron Rodgers said, talking about how wide open the NFC. It felt like for a while there, John, the 49ers were on a different level, and I still believe they're the best team in the conference on paper and record-wise. But what do you make of the NFC this year? How kind of wide open it is for the Detroit Lions, now winning some games here, heating up before the playoffs?
Yeah, thanks again, guys, for having me. Get to talk about the Detroit Lions division winners. First time in 30 years. And that puts you in a new stratosphere. Now you get to host a home playoff game. I love the fact the Lions can still compete for the number 1 seed. If they win out, they can be the number 2 seed. And here's what winning the division gives you. You guys see the many books behind me. I read this book to get me fired up for this year. This is what it gives you. Swagger. Swagger, baby. You know what that means? The ability and belief to go into any contest knowing that you can win. I really recommend you read that book, because there are elements of what Dan Campbell is doing that remind me of Jimmy Johnson. I think installing into this team belief that you can go out there and compete with anybody if you play your game.
Right.
And the swagger that the Detroit Lions now should possess, I think should give them confidence. Could you imagine? We're talking today, potentially this Detroit Lions team being the number 1 seed in the NFC. It's exciting. I know now you get a marquee test against the Cowboys. I can't wait to see it this Saturday because it'll allow a lot of people to kind of get a sense of where this Lions football team is at. It has a playoff feel. It's a primetime game against a great opponent playing very well. So this is a playoff type matchup, and I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, John. It's funny you mentioned Jimmy Johnson and the Cowboys because I think Dan Campbell at the end of one of his press conferences talked about how great how great of a matchup it's going to be. Compliment the Cowboys, compliment his own team, and then talks about win this one for Jimmy. Talk about Jimmy Johnson. Yeah, that was a pretty fun moment. But speaking of that game at Dallas, I know that the Lions have already clinched the division. We're all very happy as fans. I think we're confident in our team to at least win one playoff game. But going to Dallas, what would a win like that do? Could us fans and maybe even the team really puff their chests out and start talking, we can win this whole fucking thing? Would that be that type of win if they were able to achieve it?
Yeah, absolutely. Dallas Cowboys, America's team. Everybody loves looking at the Cowboys, especially them being 7-0 at home, playing really well. Obviously, right now, they're on a losing streak back-to-back games. But look, in the end, anytime you go out there and you can beat an NFC team that's got 10 wins, I think it bodes well for the Detroit Lions. Look, you guys talked about it. Aaron Rodgers kind of talking about the Lions now, the new guard. You got the Vikings, Bears, and Packers fans kind of downplaying the Lions win because of all the injuries their teams had. Look, too bad, so sad. Lions sit atop the division. And look, yeah, the belief would be there if you can beat a team with the caliber. Guys, the Cowboys, man, when you look at their roster, you realize they're a top 10 team in DVOA. Really opportunistic defense. Dak Prescott leads the NFL in touchdowns. You recognize this is a good football team, especially when they play at home. It definitely would send shockwaves throughout throughout the country. But in the end, guys, I know everybody cares what the national media thinks, but in the end, the Lions aren't going to be a team that's just the darlings of the NFL world. Yeah, people will talk about them, but most importantly for that football team, it would give them confidence they could win in the postseason, maybe even on the road.
John, when you look at where the Lions were when Dan got here, and not just that, but when Sheila took over and when Brad got here, and you have Chris Spielman and Barry Sanders helping out with some of the decision-making, how would you delegate the credit for where the Lions are right now between a Brad, a Sheila, a Dan Campbell, maybe some of the players? How would you delegate that credit to where they've got now, winning their first division title in 30 years?
Yeah, Kool-Aid knows what a crappy owner looks like. That's Tom Burris. The Detroit Lions got a much better owner in Sheila Hemp. You recognize right away she had a vision. So first and foremost, it starts with Sheila. She understood something was wrong with the culture. It was a losing culture.
Right.
That photo is iconic. I was in the building when Sheila Hemp was like this in that game on Thanksgiving. I was there. I was sitting there and among the 20 reporters that were in Ford Field during the COVID era. It was a nightmare covering the Matt Patricia era. And she recognized, okay, I'm not just going to sit in a big mansion in LA and just do nothing. She made changes immediately in the season, blew out Matt Patricia, and said, okay, how do I start this thing? I need to identify what the culture is and what people can relate to. And that starts with identifying and bringing back Chris Spielman to work with the organization, to instill the grit, the resiliency, somebody that understands football. Then you pair Brad Holmes with Dan Campbell. Obviously, it starts with Sheila, and then you recognize what the front office and coaches have done. Look what they've brought here. They've brought in players that when they do face adversity, it doesn't just keep happening. This football team hasn't lost back-to-back games this year. So you recognize that the players that have been brought here have a certain psychological makeup that allows them to succeed at the NFL level. So definitely it starts at the top with Sheila, but it definitely, the most of the credit goes to Sheila, but a lot of the credit will go to Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes as well for what they brought this Metro Detroit community in their football team.
Oh man, it's so great to talk about where the Lions were and where they are now. It always makes picks you up when you're having a bad day, or makes your day better when you're even having a good day. But I want to get into the next game a little bit at Dallas. Do you think the Lions, especially their offensive line, has what it takes to neutralize Micah Parsons?
Oh, yeah, that's the biggest concern, right? Micah Parsons, over 10 sacks, definitely a player that is going to be a focal point for the Detroit Lions offensive line. But guys, guess what? You got one of the best right tackles in all of the game. Arguably, when you dig into the numbers, Sam, and I know you do, and maybe you'll spit it off in a rant, Penei Sewell is having arguably one of the best seasons at right tackle of all time.
Sure.
And I think the challenge that he's going to have now with Micah Parsons, I think, is going to bring the best out of him. You've seen a player that wants to protect his quarterback. This offensive line is going to play at a high level. And you recognize, too, that you can scheme away a little bit from Micah Parsons. But look, here's also something that you're seeing now on film from Jared Goff. He's recognizing where the pressure's coming from a little bit better. He's getting the football out. A lot of times you hear Ben Johnson, when we go out to Allen Park, he says that the best way we can prepare Jared Goff is to let him know the answers going into the game, meaning what that means is he needs to be aware quickly of where the pressure's coming from, who the check down is, where the number one target is quickly. And if everything is going well, you neutralize a guy like Micah Parsons by getting the football out quickly, maybe even kind of some sneakiness there with some draw plays. And one of the weaknesses that the Cowboys have is in the run game. And if you can just definitely learn from the Bills and what they were able to do, they were able to rush for over 220 yards against the Cowboys. If you can neutralize Micah Parsons and avoid the big turnover, Lions got a chance to compete and score some points.
But now, what about that defense? You got some guys coming back. I know James Houston, his clock might be activated soon. He's not going to play this week, but he's at least trending in the right direction. You got Aleem McNeil coming back in the near future. But guys that'll be able to make an impact this week, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, he'll be out there this week, correct?
We're going to find out later today for sure, but I would expect, based on what we're seeing in practice, that he would be out there. Man, it would be such a boost to see CD out there. I think that it gives you another opportunistic player that can force turnovers. I think the development and emergence of Ifeatu Melifonwu definitely should give the Lions fans a lot of confidence. But, guys, you got to also recognize, too, Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb, they've developed some chemistry that is really out of this world. It's something to be mindful of, because if you're the Cowboys, the first thing that you're salivating is, oh my goodness, it's Cam Sutton and Khalil Dorsey. You're looking at that side of the field with Khalil Dorsey or Vildor and saying, we better target this side of the field as much as possible. You recognize that it's going to be potentially one of the best games of the year. It could be very high scoring and very much so in line with a game where the Lions offense has to keep up. But Dan Campbell said it. If they can just get one or two turnovers, that's the key. If they're able to be opportunistic, get that turnover and get the ball back to the Lions offense, then you got a shot. But, man, it's going to be hard to limit the Cowboys. I think this game has a chance where you sit back, eat your popcorn, and enjoy an entertaining football game.
And I think that's what it's going to come down to, John, to be honest with you, as the secondary, because I think this run defense has proven all year they're consistent. You know what they're going to do every game. They're going to stop the run. And Tony Pollard, speaking of the run game they're going against, he's struggled to run the football all year. So it's a good matchup, I think. My concern, and you nailed it, you saw what Justin Jefferson just did, and CeeDee Lamb is not Justin Jefferson, but CeeDee Lamb is having a career year, and he's been tearing up secondaries. He had a great game last week, even though they stopped going to him late in that Miami game. But that, to me, I'm curious, John, if Aaron Glenn will continue the Cam Sutton traveling adjustment he's made, because I think that's your best option, because you know the Cowboys, they're going to find ways to get CeeDee Lamb, a Khalil Dorsey, and they're going to get him open. They're going to have chunk plays. So is that fair to say that defensively, yes, you want to get a pass rush and create pressure, that's obvious, but this game's going to come down to the secondary holding up?
Yeah, absolutely. You look at it too, though, guys. We had a chance to talk to Aaron Glenn earlier this week, and what we've all seen on film is his new blitz packages have been working. You've seen Ifeatu Melifonwu, his speed and physicality. He can also, the benefit of having CD Deuce back is you can play a little bit more dime packages, which allows for 6 defensive backs. You can bring up Ifeatu Melifonwu. You got to get creative, and you got to time the blitzes just right. But if you pressure Dak Prescott, if Aiden Hutchinson continues his play and kind of just being a menace, I know the sack numbers aren't there, but he's a menace. He forces disruption. And sometimes I know we definitely fall in love with the sack totals, but when you just look at the last interception from Nick Mullins, Aiden Hutchinson's pressure forced Nick Mullins up in the pocket, which forced the interception. So you recognize that there's a lot of ways this football team can get to Dak Prescott. The secondary definitely is key, and they just got to hold on, because if you don't get pressure, there's no way the Lions secondary does not have the caliber, a number one lockdown corner to shut down weapons. CeeDee Lamb's going to get his. If you're a fantasy owner, I would play CeeDee Lamb in your championship game. But at the same time, if you can limit the Cowboys from scoring as many touchdowns, then you'll have an opportunity. Man, this is going to be close, guys. This could be one of those games where the team that has the football last wins it.
I mean, the reality is, you talked about it with CeeDee Lamb. I mean, Justin Jefferson went off against the Lions last week, and it didn't matter. And then Keenan Allen, we remember the Chargers game, went off against the Lions, and ultimately the Lions still won. I like what you said about Aiden Hutchinson, by the way. I've had to deal with a lot of the hate and the slander. But anywho, let me just one more question from me. If the Lions are to win this game, who would you predict would be the, I would say, most valuable player of that game for the Lions?
Yeah, absolutely. You got to go with Mr. Reliable, number 14, Amon-Ra St. Brown. The chemistry that he's developed with Jared Goff, man, it's amazing. He's got the swagger. He's a total package. I think that obviously last year he didn't get to finish the game. It was a noticeable absence. You recognize that, man, what he does, what he brings to the table, it's not easy to be that consistent, to be somebody that everybody knows is getting the football and still can record over 10 receptions. And really what he does really well is in key moments, along with Sam Laporta, when the Lions need a key third down execution and to move the chains, it's Amon-Ra St. Brown. And I expect him to want to continue to showcase what he brings to the table in primetime. I expect him as well to have a solid performance. I think he helped a lot of people last week advance in fantasy. He'll do the same thing this week in the championship. Start Amon-Ra St. Brown, no doubt.
One more question for you, John. You mentioned it already with Iffy, but when he was drafted, I mean, you like his athleticism, you like the size. You know, he played corner at Syracuse. He changed his position to safety. A lot of guys in the Lions secondary that could play multiple positions, so it's a great thing. Where the hell did he come from? And I know AG kind of spoke on it. You were there. You got to hear Aaron Glenn. But what's the explanation on Iffy? It feels like he just shot out of the sky, and now the Lions got a premier secondary player that just hasn't slowed down, John. You can't take him off the field.
No, it may appear that way, but I've been covering the team. I saw, obviously, what Brad Holmes definitely saw on film. Look, this is an individual, a player that was scouted and drafted by the Lions. And you guys got to also remember, part of the reason why we're talking about a division-winning team is their draft and develop strategy. The only reason why he hasn't made an impact sooner is because he's been battling injuries. And you look at one of the strengths of Aaron Glenn, obviously a defensive back who played in the league. He loves safeties that have played the cornerback position. And then, guys, here's the tough part with what the Lions do at times. What they do is they take players and they test them by putting them at multiple different spots. Now, maybe in college he was more comfortable playing at the cornerback spot and things like that. But here in the NFL, Aaron Glenn wants his defensive backs to do a myriad of things, to be able to blitz, to be able to play a vast variety of positions. And now that he's healthy at safety, now he's comfortable. Sometimes when you move to a different position, we all expect that the transition is just going to be spectacular. You recognize, okay, when you're doing a bunch of different things at this level, it takes time. And now that he's been given an opportunity, the practice, the development that he's had, now you're seeing a player that has an opportunity to make plays. And look at his skill set. Physical, speed, definitely aware, playing alongside Kirby Joseph, who has a similar style. The influence of C.D. Deuce being there as well, along with Brian Branch. That's a room that's competing against each other, so there's no question that the room is improving. And what a benefit that the Lions are going to have when you have players that are drafted and develop in your system. It's definitely the way in which you gain success and keep success.
No question. Good stuff today, John. And by the way, if you want more of John's content, you can follow him. He's publisher of All Lions and, of course, host of the Detroit Sports Podcast. If you don't know who John is, well, you're living under a rock. The man is one of the best in the city, covers the Detroit Lions. Check out all his stuff. We appreciate you, John. We'll see you next Thursday. I know win or lose this weekend, you'll have plenty of content to be able to cover.
No, I appreciate you guys. If you want to check out potentially our thoughts on how the Lions could handle the safety rotation when CD comes back, we did a piece yesterday at All Lions examining how the Lions could handle the safety rotation, because you got 4 good ones and the opportunities are aplenty for Aaron Glenn. Let's go Lions.
Let's go Lions. That's a good problem to have, by the way. Thanks, John. Appreciate you. Really quickly, got to tell you about our friends over at Planet Fitness. What a transition. Planet Fitness, place to go. Home of the judgment-free zone, where anybody, and I mean anybody, can feel comfortable and work on their fitness goals. At Planet Fitness, you'll experience a squeaky clean gym that has tons of equipment, full-body workout in just 30 minutes, and of course, all memberships include fitness training. You'll get all this for just $10 a month, no commitment, no matter where you are. There's a Planet Fitness close by, more than 50 in Metro Detroit, and thousands more throughout the world.
Come to Lady Jane's for an award-winning haircut experience and register for a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to win an all-expenses-paid suite for the 2024 NCAA tournament for you and 5 of your best buds. Lady Jane's open 7 days a week. Walk in anytime. It's wicked awesome.
Your home is your most important asset. Flexibility in the sales process is key. When you work with Mark White & Associates, you can cancel at any time, for any reason, without penalty. Speaking of flexibility, check this out. Who you work with matters. Hire the best broker in the game.
Brace yourselves, Detroit. As the sun begins to set, 2 of Woodward Sports' brightest young stars will be taking the mic for a brand new show. Woodward Nights with Spooner and Broder. The dog days in Detroit are over, and the boys are unleashed. Join in on the banter and hop on the bandwagon of the #1 night show on the internet. Tune into the Woodward Sports YouTube channel every weeknight from 8 to 10 p.m. Woodward Nights with Spooner and Broder.
Let me tell you about our friends over at Fairway Packing Co. Fairway Packing Co. is providing Michigan's finest restaurants, hotels, casinos with prime beef, Wagyu beef, and of course, dry aged beef. Experience the Fairway difference for yourself today. Visit the steak shop in Grosse Pointe Woods for grab-and-go steaks, or order online at fairwaypacking.com. We're back here. It's the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. Thank you guys for tuning in. That was fun. John Macaroon is always great. I have him on every single Thursday for people that are just tuning in and maybe new to the show. He's our Thursday guest. Thursdays with John Macaroon. Like I said, tomorrow we have another guest. Micro Mike will be joining the show. Got some great, bright Lions minds joining the program. He never misses.
No.
Not like Alec Burks with 10 seconds to go. Like he doesn't miss.
He's no Alec Burks.
No. Like if I have the ball and I'm going down the court and I see John, I'm not going to selfishly take the 3. I'm going to let John take that thing.
Oh, John's taking it and making it.
Yeah.
100%.
Like John could have 40 in the game. I'm still not going to take the shot to end the game. Sorry, I'm sorry. I can't get over that. I'm sorry. I'm still mad about it.
I feel you.
And another thing.
Yeah. Regardless, we're back and it's kind of. It's right on track because we just talked about Iffy with John, and I did want to bring up that Ifitu Melifonwu just won NFC Defensive Player of the Week. Yeah, this is not a Lions award. NFC Defensive Player of the Week. The entire conference, Iffy Melifonwu. He's a stud, Sam Flannel. And you look at what he's done so far with him being in Detroit. And I know John's been behind the scenes, so he absolutely gets it. But for the average fan, you look at Iffy and you think, okay, 3rd-round pick out of Syracuse. Like I told John, he has all the physical tools in the world, 6'3", 200 pounds. He's quick, lanky. Like you think, okay, corner, also a safety. Look at this, Sam Flannel. In only the last handful of games, look at this man. Last week, 2 sacks, 2 pass deflections, interception. The prior week, had another sack. Strip sack, by the way. Creating a turnover.
Yeah.
He might have had, he technically had part in Russell Wilson getting cut. I'll just say that. Because guess what? That game was an absolute blowout with the help of Iffy making plays. And I just think the growth of Iffy now in his 3rd year, and this is why I think people get obsessed with saying, this guy's a bust, this guy's a bust. Like, for example, Broderick Martin. Everybody sits and wonders, what do they have in Broderick Martin? I mean, is he a bust, is he not? Some of these guys, not everybody can come out and immediately just be great. Especially if you're drafted past the first round, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, doesn't matter. But it does take some time for some guys. And for Iffy, he's coming together at a perfect time. Right when they needed him, he showed up in this secondary. Although statistically they're struggling, on paper, Sam, they look a lot better than they did before the season. You got a lot more talent. I mean, you got Tracy, who's a backup safety. He would start in some secondaries in the NFL if he's playing his best ball. Brian Branch was the highest graded DB last week, by the way. And then you got C.J. Gardner-Johnson coming back, who's one of the best at his position in the National Football League. The secondary, it's looking better on paper. It is.
Sure. And Iffy Melifonwu has a lot to do with it. I mean, I would say the emergence of him in these last couple of games or so, starting with the Broncos game and then how well he played at Minnesota, it played a huge role in, I think, flipping their season. He has been the most valuable defensive player on this team in the last couple of weeks. Hard stop. And he was rewarded with it with the NFC Defensive Player of the Week, in which he absolutely deserved it. He had 2 sacks and he had the game-sealing interception. I remember on that throw, we were all holding our breath, and there goes almost like a gift from the heavens. Iffy Melifonwu streaking in front of Justin Jefferson, picking it off. We're NFC North Division champions. Absolutely unbelievable. But you even mentioned in the Broncos game, the Broncos were driving right down the field in the week right after the Lions had just experienced the low point of the season. I think for all of us, the game at Chicago was the game in which we were all questioning everything, whether this team could even hang on to the division, for crying out loud. Those talks were real, and I even was a little concerned at some point. But then Iffy Melifonwu made the play, the strip sack that was picked up by Isaiah Buggs and taken into Broncos territory by the Lions, and instead of scoring on their opening drive for the Broncos, they ended up turning the football over. I know the Lions didn't immediately turn that into points, but it set the tone. It made it from here we go again to, okay, now we're going to beat these guys. I really believe that played a huge role in flipping the game. He's obviously been very valuable. But honestly, Iffy, I thought he played well in the game at Chicago. I thought he played well early on in the year when he got some playing time against the Falcons and at Green Bay. So that leads me to believe that maybe he's part of the future of this team. Maybe he's a guy who's competing for a starting spot next year. You certainly can't take him off the field now with the way that he's played. What if I told you guys, and this is a site that is a lightning rod amongst a lot of the audience, but I certainly like it, a little site by the name of Pro Football Focus. What if I told you that Iffy Melifonwu, you guys are going to like Pro Football Focus now.
We like it when it fits our narrative.
Is the 6th highest rated safety in the National Football League.
Now I like PFF.
Not in the National Football League. He's the last 3 games, he's basically been in every down safety, and he's gotten the snap count eligibility, and with the way that he's played. And that's the thing. You can crap on PFF all you want, but it's not just PFF. You see it. You see the sacks. You see the interceptions. You see the quarterback hits. You see the pass deflections. You see the tackles for loss. You see just how much of a menace he was on the football field.
Right.
I mean, Iffy Melifonwu is just one of those, I don't even want to say unsung heroes because he's becoming too good and too popular for that, but just the way that he emerged. If I would have told you before the Denver Broncos game that one of the players most responsible for flipping the season back over into the positive end of the spectrum was Iffy Melifonwu, nobody would have believed you. But it was him. He has been their best defensive player in one of the most important stretches of the season to right the ship after a bad stretch. Absolutely unbelievable.
When targeted, he allows a 68.8 pass rating.
Is that good?
That's pretty good. I would say that's good. Shout out to Booner, by the way. We've gotten used to, he says in the YouTube chat thread here, we've gotten used to Brad Holmes making guys, or Brad Holmes guys making an instant impact. Now some developed guys are starting to show. And that's kind of my overall takeaway here, is just being patient with some of these players. Not everybody can come out. I mean, you look at Amon-Ra St. Brown his rookie year. It took him about half the season to get his legs under him and start really getting used to the NFL and start being productive. And now you see what he's become. It's not always going to be it's not instant oatmeal all the time. Like, that's what I want people to know, right? You throw it in the microwave and boom, you got oatmeal. It's not like that. Broderick Martin, I think, is going to be a similar thing. Brad sees intangibles. He sees physical tools. He sees what he can be. Let's let these things play out a little bit. I see Derek Lewis chiming in, and shout out to him for being honest. He said, I'll admit, I called Iffy a bust. That's okay, Derek, because you probably weren't alone. He was injured. You didn't see a lot of him. The last memory I have of Iffy last year was the Carolina game when he played. That's not a great memory.
No,
and that's not just him. But
yeah.
that's when he played for the injured...
Was it Deshaun Elliott last year?
Yes.
I think it was Deshaun Elliott. Yeah.
Somebody was injured if he played, and he did not look great. But again, look at him now. In the secondary on paper, looks good. Statistically, they have not been good. But to me, the problem is more at corner, to be honest with you.
Oh, absolutely.
Like safety, they got too many safeties. Yeah, they're loaded. I mean, Tracy, Kirby, CJ, Iffy now, Brian Branch.
Yep.
So they got a lot of guys in that safety room. Now, corner's a problem. I mean, you got Kendall Vildor or Khalil Dorsey is your number 2 corner, your number 2 outside corner. KG, it's not ideal. It's not ideal. Solid at times, but no. Besides Cam Sutton, it's a problem.
Absolutely not. And what you notice is a lot of teams, they target that as our weakness. Jerry Jacobs, for example. Jerry Jacobs gets targeted a lot. And we give up a lot of big plays because of that. So, I mean, corner is definitely a need, but this safety room has done a lot in terms of keeping the secondary together and making plays when plays needed to be made. But definitely corner is a position that needs to get addressed. So.
Nicholas Earl, instant oatmeal. You're so white, Jeff. Well, I just thought that was what came to my mind, Nicholas. I don't know what to tell you. Funky says, I will never like PFF. They called McNeil a nose tackle, and I personally blame them for people not knowing the difference between a D end and an outside linebacker when the term edge being talked about like it's an actual position. That's fair. But PFF, I do like it when it fits my narrative.
Well,
I'll be honest.
And in the example of Iffy Melifonwu, and every time I use PFF, it's not. And you can say the same thing about a guy like Penei Sewell, which you all are going to like as well. You see the way that he doesn't allow pressures. You see the way that he's down the field blocking defensive ends when on run plays. You see the holes that are open, and the same with Iffy. It's not just PFF. Everybody with 2 eyes can see how great Iffy Melifonwu has been the last couple of games. He's been the biggest game wrecker on the defense when they needed someone to step up the most. So it's when you can get the PFF grade and you can also get the eye test and the counting stats, like the sacks and the interceptions and the tackles, that is kind of the holy trinity of impactful football player, I would say.
Some of the comments coming in here, I want to try and get to them. Let's see here. Just a fan. J-Mo drafted number 12, barely played 1 full season. Bust. Hutch drafted number 2, played 2 seasons, 6.5 sacks, but he is elite. Give me a break.
Guys, okay, let me just say this, and I'm not even trying to get mad.
Uh-oh.
All John Macaroon did is say one positive thing about Aiden Hutchinson, and I nodded and kind of took a little bit of like a ha-ha, and then you guys like Just a Fan and One Funky Lions fan and Cody Ingle just lose your goddamn minds. When did we talk about anything that was so out of line? Here's the thing about Aiden Hutchinson, and let me just be very clear. I'm trying to bargain with you. I am trying to break bread with all of you guys. This Lions team is 11-4. This Lions defense, despite a bunch of injuries to key players like James Houston, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, Emmanuel Mosley, recently Aleem McNeil, and for a couple games Brian Branch, they missed a lot of time, is still better than it was last year. And Aiden Hutchinson leads the team in sacks, pressures, hits, hurries, forced fumbles, fumble recoveries, and is tied for the team lead in tackles for loss. I'm not saying that he's gotten home as much as maybe you thought he would. I'm not saying he's a Defensive Player of the Year candidate. I'm not saying he's an All-Pro this year, but he has been very, very good. That's all I am saying now. It's just you can't even say one positive thing about Hutch when the Lions are on a fucking 2-game winning streak, and you guys are just like, oh my God!
There it is.
Oh, why are you guys such Hutch dick riders? Cody Ingle, Just a Fan, fan, one fucking Lions fan. Y'all ought to be ashamed of yourself. Come on.
Talk to him, Sam.
This is ridiculous.
So what you're saying is Hutch is overrated.
No, Hutch is not overrated.
I'm kidding.
I gave you reasons why he's actually been good. And
Yeah.
like
He's
you
been
even
good.
see people on Twitter or X afterwards, after the Lions clinched the goddamn division, being like, "Oh, but Hutch didn't do anything." Oh my God, it's
so
insane.
Booner says Flannel will Hutch make the Pro Bowl. We talked about it last night. No.
I think with a strong finish he could, but as there's so many good edge rushers right now.
That's the thing.
I mean,
yeah.
it's true.
not even a knock. Like if you want to say that's a knock, cool. But
Because
I don't think
you got Bosa, you've got
Of course, yeah.
you've got Hassan Reddick, Micah Parsons, guys like that. It's hard to crack the Pro Bowl, but I could see him making it as like an alternate or something. He's had a good season.
Okay. Just asking. David Witt says, "Who would Sam rather have on the Lions, Mahomes or Hutch?"
That's a
Eduardo says, "If Jamo went to Michigan, Sam would be quiet."
no, guys. I've been complimentary of Jamison Williams lately on the last couple shows.
he
I
has.
have been.
Yeah, he has. And to be fair, speaking, nice transition here. If Jamo went to Michigan, we're actually going to talk about Michigan.
Let's go.
Let's talk about Michigan, Alabama when we come back here. You guys are funny. You guys make this show. I love the chat. But first, though, got to hear about our friends from Swiss Insurance.
Oh, yes. After a mini rant, it's always my turn to do a read. Okay. Do you have football on the brain? Of course you do. Right now, with the Lions clinching the division and everybody being kumbaya, except for some, it's a great time to shop your home and auto insurance. Shop it like a pro with Swiss Insurance. They cover Woodward Sports Network, and they should be covering you too. Ask for Mark at Swiss Insurance today at swissins.com or call 248-800-4177. Again, that is 248-800-4177, Swiss Insurance.
You want to ride in a car? No, I'm not talking about Sam Flannel riding Aiden Hutchinson. I'm talking about riding in a car that you can get from Feldman Chevrolet, Michigan's #1 Chevy dealer. Guys, they've been open shorter than the Lions last time they won a division in a playoff win. So think about that in context. Michigan's #1 Chevy dealer. That's where I got my new Chevy. They hooked me up. They took care of me. Check them out. Go check out Ryan over at Novide. So we do shows every other Monday there to recap Lions games, wins, and losses.
Where's the most convenient place to get that big fitness energy? It's Planet Fitness. Join today for just $1 down, $10 a month. With over 2,400 locations and equipment for every workout, you can get in, get energized, and get going. And with free fitness training and most clubs open 24 hours, everyone belongs in the judgment-free zone. So join today for $1 down, $10 a month, no commitment, cancel anytime.
Woodward Sports' own Tom Mazaway and Sam Stick Day will be hosting our Lions postgame show after every Lions game all season long. Tune into the Woodward Sports YouTube channel for his hot-off-the-press takes, game analysis, and Kool-Aid sipping celebrations. You won't want to miss it. Join Maz, Stick, and special guests each week immediately following every Lions game, exclusively on the WSN YouTube channel.
Hey, this your boy KG here, first round pick, here to tell you about Glorious Cannabis. And just in time for football and your Pistons pain, Glorious Cannabis is dropping an ice water bubble hash infused pre-roll called Honolulu Blue. It smells so good. It's like the whiff of the first playoff win in 31 years. It's gassy. And guess what? It's aggressive too. Named in honor of Detroit football. And hey, you can get your hands on one for 25% off at gloriouscanna.com.
Welcome back to the morning show. Chad Fisher, YouTube chat thread now. Get in there if you're listening. He says, because of Jeff, I went out and purchased one of those puffy vests. I'm happy. I should get some royalties, though. Not gonna lie to you. But I'm happy. I've been enjoying the vests. You know, Adam used to wear them all the time. He's got me into them now. It's the vibe. It's winter. So even though it doesn't feel like winter, it hasn't been snow. But still, the vests, they're definitely the move. This comment here, Dante, are you guys doing a show on my birthday, which is coming up Monday, January 1st? I do not believe so. I'm sorry, Dante. But we'll be doing a show the next day, and I'll be sure to wish you a happy belated birthday. But, man, January 1st, your birthday. That's awesome, man. Congratulations. New Year's Day birthday. It's like when those guys have birthdays on Christmas. Double holiday for you. Nicholas Earl, Jeff with his Italian hair, feels like a suburban type of guy. Well, you're not wrong there. Chad Fisher, if you lit a match next to Jeff's hair, y'all would explode. Well, that is true. I will give you that. I do put some pomade in there. I don't know how flammable it is. It could explode. You're not wrong. All right, let's get into the matchup. Michigan taking on Alabama. I can't wait for this, Sam Flannel.
Go blue.
And you got the pettiness of Nick Saban, which, you can believe how petty it is because Nick Saban will come out and say, well, no, I did it because we do this every year. You just happen to hire a coach that, I don't know, used to be the linebacker coach for Michigan like a year ago, 2 years ago. Sounds a little fishy, but at the same time, Nick Saban, he wants every edge, every advantage. Yeah. This is a man who's played in a ton of playoff games. He's won 7 national championships. This is the only game, Sam Flannel, this season where you won't have the better coach.
Oh, for sure. 100%.
What's your confidence level? It's getting close.
Well, all right. So if I am confident that Michigan will win, but I'll start off with where Alabama I think could hurt Michigan or potentially would scare me a little bit as a Michigan fan. One, obviously the Nick Saban factor. He is the greatest coach in college football history. He's won 6 national championships at Alabama, and he's just like the dynasty that he's created there is probably the best in college football history. Just this period of dominance has been unbelievable, and of course, they have a couple of corners who are probably going to go in the first round. Kool-Aid McKinstry, definitely. Terrion Arnold, probably at the end of the first round, going up against the Michigan wide receivers. I think that they have the advantage, although Roman Wilson's had a good year. Cornelius Johnson is pretty good. They're not the level of players that the Alabama corners are. And also, the pass rush for Alabama, led by Dallas Turner and Chris Braswell. I mean, they can get to the quarterback, and Michigan will be playing without their best offensive lineman, without one of the best guards in the country, Zach Zinner, which I think will hurt. And some of their tackle play this year, whether it's been Carson Barnhart at times or Ladarius Henderson or Miles Hinton, it just hasn't quite been what it has of the past. And you can see that with the way Michigan has ran the ball this year as well. It hasn't quite gotten going. Donovan Edwards has really never gotten going this year. Blake Corum doesn't have the yards per carry that he did last season, although the touchdowns are still there. But those are the things that kind of worry me a little bit. But here's the thing about Alabama, and this is what I have really tried to stress, and I'm going to keep stressing it until the game actually kicks off. This is not the Alabama team of yesteryear, especially when it comes to offensive players, particularly skill position players. I mean, think about this. Jalen Milroe. He's a fine quarterback. He's going to be the best quarterback that Michigan has gone up against.
Yep.
But he doesn't necessarily scare me throwing the football the way that some of the Alabama quarterbacks of yesteryear have. I know he can run and all that, but think about this. The last 4 quarterbacks under Nick Saban, Alabama, has been Bryce Young, number 1 overall pick, Heisman. Mm-hmm. Matt Jones, top first round draft pick. Could have won the Heisman if it wasn't for his teammate Devontae Smith.
Won a natty, though.
Yes, absolutely. He was great that year. Tua Tagovailoa, top 10 pick. Mm-hmm. And then before that, it was Jalen Hurts, who didn't really hit his stride until Oklahoma, but still, we've seen what he has become. And I know a lot of you are going to say now, but Alabama won national championships with A.J. McCarron, with Jake Coker, with Greg McElroy. I understand that, but still, the way that Alabama has been trending is having star quarterbacks, and I don't know if Jalen Milroe is quite there yet, although with a great college football playoff run, he could get there. But then you look at Alabama running backs of yesteryear. You look at Jahmyr Gibbs. Us Lions fans know him very, very well. You look at Najee Harris, first-round pick. You look at Derrick Henry, Heisman Trophy winner, one of the best backs in the NFL, probably going to be a Hall of Famer. You look at a guy like Mark Ingram, first-round pick. Trent Richardson, bust in the NFL, but a top 5 overall pick. You even look at a guy like Brian Robinson, who is now a running back for the Washington Commanders, had a 1,000-yard year. You look at T.J. Yeldon. You look at Eddie Lacy, and you can laugh at Eddie Lacy for kind of eating his way out of the NFL, but he had a couple 1,000-yard seasons with the Packers, and he was very, very good at Alabama. And now who the Alabama has is Jace McClellan. He's okay. He's a very fine local Alabama running back, but they don't have that star running back that they're necessarily used to having. Same with wide receivers. Think about this. one of the Alabama wide receivers that we all know very, very well. Jamison Williams, an absolute superstar at Alabama.
Stud.
Yes, first-round pick. You look at Julio Jones. You look at Devontae Smith, who won a Heisman there, first-round pick. You look at Jerry Jeudy, guys like that. You look at Calvin Ridley, Amari Cooper, just like an embarrassment of riches at the wide receiver position under the Nick Saban era that is probably not matched in the history of college football, except maybe Ohio State lately, but just like superstar wide receivers, Heisman Trophy winners, first-round picks, NFL Hall of Famers, in the case of Julio Jones, one of the best to ever do it. And now Alabama has Jermaine Burton and Isaiah Bond. Not terrible or anything like that. Not like they're trash, but they're not superstars. So I think this Michigan defense, which I think is the deepest, and certainly I think they have the best secondary in the entire country.
Here's the kicker.
What's
and I want you to answer this. You're on the stand today, and you're doing good.
Yes.
You're doing really good. I'll give you a cookie after the show. But look at this.
Get him,
Cody Ingle.
Fuck that guy, bro.
Outside of JJ, Michigan doesn't have a first-round skill position draft pick either. Is he wrong?
No. He's not wrong.
So because we bring up it is not the same Alabama, which is true. But Cody Ingle's kind of preaching, though.
No, I understand that. Colston Loveland, maybe?
First round pick. Come on, Sam. Even you. He's good.
No, he's
Sam
good.
Laporta was a second round pick.
Okay, fine. Aldo.
It's a good point.
No, I understand that. And sorry, Cody Ingle, you just have never said anything I've liked in the past year or so. So that's all well and good.
Cody.
And is one of my biggest adversaries in the chat. Yes, I understand that. I understand that Michigan doesn't. I mean, Roman Wilson and Cornelius Johnson. I mean, they're fine. They're fine. I like Colston Loveland. I thought that Donovan Edwards would be a first round pick, but he has had
Some did too. I
mean, I hate to say it, he's had a horrible year.
Yeah.
He's had a horrific season. One of the biggest disappointments in all of college football. Blake Corum is certainly one of the best college running backs, one of the best Michigan running backs in my opinion ever, but he's not a first round pick. But no, I understand that. It's just that Alabama. It leads me more to the point that Alabama is not that much different from Michigan. If this would have been a team that had Derrick Henry and Amari Cooper, I don't even know if they played at the same time, but you know what I'm saying, or Mark Ingram and Julio Jones, you'd be like, oh crap, how are we going to match up with them? But this isn't the same team, and I do like the way Michigan's secondary has played this year. I think Will Johnson is the best defensive player in the game, including Dallas Turner. I love.
But who's 2 and 3?
I mean, you got Sandra still, you got Josh Wallace, you've got Rod Moore at safety. You've got.
I'm talking about between both teams.
I would say
who's 2 and 3.
Dallas Turner is definitely 2.
And who's 3?
Kool-Aid.
He's a certain corner that plays for Alabama.
Kool-Aid.
Okay, so
but here's the thing though. On the defensive line, we've got Chris Jenkins and Mason Graham. I mean, Chris Jenkins isn't going to be. He might get into the low end of the first round, but he's not Kool-Aid or Dallas Turner. But Mason Graham, he may be. And then you look at some of the edge rushers they have, like Jalen Arrow, like Braden McGregor, for example. They don't have like a hutch or anything like that, but they've got a lot of depth in their linebacking core, like Junior Colson and Ernest Hausman and Michael Barrett. This defense, I think, is more talented than Alabama's, and I expect them to not have a lot of trouble with an Alabama offense, which on paper is probably the weakest in the Nick Saban era.
Yeah, you know what? That's a great point too, Flannel. I think it's more the playing field is more even.
Sure.
Now, Trisha makes a great point. She says coaching is the only chance Michigan has because they don't have the better athletes necessarily, but if Harbaugh is him, he better show it Monday. I do think to some extent this game's going to come down to coaching. Yeah. I think. I mean, and Jesse asked this question, Jesse. I didn't forget about you. And a little bit of a troll. He says, Jeff, can you ask Sam, does JJ not throwing a TD in 2 months concern him? We all know you are going to need JJ to make plays and win it all in the playoffs. I don't think that's really a troll. I think he's genuinely asking.
Well, just be accurate because he did have one against Ohio State, a very big one for the record.
So
but
one TD in 2 months.
Fine. Whatever you want to say. Yeah, J.J. McCarthy, this is certainly a time to, I would say, make his legacy as a great college quarterback or just be one of the best Michigan quarterbacks ever. It kind of depends a lot on what he does in the college football playoff. Because last year, I do give him a lot of credit for bringing them back from the hole that he helped dig, but he still threw a couple of costly pick sixes. And another thing about this year's college football playoff, which I forgot which show mentioned it, I wish I could give them credit, but Blake Corum is back. I'm not saying that Blake Corum being out was the reason they lost last year, but think about this. What was one of the biggest plays of the game after Roman Wilson was ruled down at like the 1 foot line after originally being called a touchdown? They handed the ball off to Khalil Mullings, who fumbled. If it would have been Blake Corum, I think he would have punched that one in. I think he would have punched that one. Even though Donovan Edwards did a very fine job, especially against Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game and against TCU. Blake Corum is just he has a nose for the goal line, and I don't think he would have fumbled like Khalil Mullings did.
Now, let's go to break. When we come back, real quickly, look at Freddie fell through on 3, keeping receipts for January 2nd. Go Blue. Look at Freddie. He's fired up, too. Let's go to break when we get back. I want KG's opinion on this, and of course, we'll talk more about it, because I do have a take on Jim Harbaugh that I'm going to retract. I said this about 2 weeks ago. And I'm thinking something different. And I'll bring that up when we come back from break. Of course, at 9:30, we'll get to Top 10 Tuesday. We'll go through our top 10 teams in the NFL, like KG and Brandon kind of pick apart our list, see what they like, what they don't like. But first, got to tell you about our friends over at Big Boy. So let me do that. Big Boy, the place to go. You need breakfast, you need lunch, you need dinner. Hey, if you're feeling dessert, they got it all. After Lions victories, maybe this week, Lions are division winners. Go celebrate. Get Big Boy's classic potato pancakes. Much, much more on top of that as well. You can even get the stuffed potato pancakes. All that and more over at our friends over at Big Boy, or visit www.bigboy.com.
Savor the heart of home at Big Boy with our all-new Down Home Comfort dishes. Feast on home-style goodness with our Southern Comfort Chicken Bowl, veal parmigiana, and apple pie hotcakes. The Down Home delight doesn't stop there. Potato pancakes are back. Dive into the richness of our perfectly crafted potatoes with our classic potato pancakes and our stuffed potato pancakes. Top off your meal with our new gingerbread shake, a seamless blend of creamy vanilla and sweet gingerbread flavors. Nothing beats the comforting taste of Down Home cooking. Enjoy every bite, only at Big Boy.
Stop searching for a vehicle and start finding one. Les Stanford Chevrolet Cadillac makes it easy. We harness the power of multiple dealerships and own the biggest selection of GM brands in the area to get you the car you need. With the Les Stanford Group, you'll have access to 4 different dealerships, providing you with more makes, more models, and more choices. We're connected to more than 1,000 vehicles, and with so many high-quality CPO vehicles available, you'll find new car quality at pre-owned prices. You can start and end your search at lesstanford.com today.
Brace yourselves, Detroit. As the sun begins to set, 2 of Woodward Sports' brightest young stars will be taking the mic for a brand new show. Woodward Nights with Spooner and Broder. The dog days in Detroit are over, and the boys are unleashed. Join in on the banter and hop on the bandwagon of the #1 night show on the internet. Tune into the Woodward Sports YouTube channel every weeknight from 8 to 10 p.m. Woodward Nights with Spooner and Broder.
Let's talk about Outdoor Equipment Company, official equipment provider of Woodward Sports, Michigan-grown, family-owned Bad Boy Mowers, tractors, steel handhelds, and even weed whippers, Liberty trailers, Generac generators, Snow X plows, and salters. Outdoor Equipment Co. has it all. Buy it, rent it at 0% financing, delivery to your doorstep. Just visit their website at outdoorequipco.com.
It's the Morning Woodward Show. We're talking Michigan, Alabama. KG's going to put a poll up. Who do you think wins, Michigan or Alabama? Tomorrow we'll have our final scores in our predictions for not only the Lions game, but of course the Michigan game as well. Don't forget, we'll have our pregame show Saturday night. I guess to some extent. Now with the winter, it's technically night, but 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. Me, Booner, the boys will be hanging out. We'll be doing the pregame show. They'll have the watch party as well. It'll be a lot of fun, guys. So please join us for that. We'll be breaking down the game in depth. We'll have some fun. Booner will go through his bets. The guy's just an ATM printing out money. So you're going to want to be there if you want to make some money. He's been hot the last couple of weeks. I believe he's like 9-1. And Booner, if you're in the chat, correct me. He's like 9-1 on legacy players. So
doesn't lose.
I don't know who he's got this week. Does not lose. That is fair. But to kind of stay on the Michigan-Alabama discussion, one thing I said about Jim Harbaugh about a week ago, I believe it was, on Heavies. And we talked about it on this show. Jim Harbaugh and his future in college football. And what I said, at least on Heavies, and what I said on this show, and by the way, I want to say this, I don't mind it being wrong. Like, I think in this business, we all admit that. You're going to say things, you're going to contemplate those things, and you're going to retract those things if you believe you're incorrect. And I do think I jumped the gun on this one. I said Jim Harbaugh, I don't see him going to the NFL this season. I think it's more likely he goes to the NFL. I don't know. It's just based on the reports I've been reading, the information I've been taking in, the more the NCAA is now, these reports are coming out with Jim Harbaugh in Michigan, him facing more punishment for different stupid reasons. I do think the NFL is inevitable, because that's something, and Diana Rossini, I think, reported this, and she's a well-respected reporter with a lot of information. And she said, undeniably, Jim wants to go back to the NFL. And now, whether it's this season or in the future, he understands that time's running out here. I think Jim would take that Chargers job. I do. Because of it's in LA, and you get a top quarterback immediately. And I think for any coach, if you're looking to make the jump into the NFL, you want to make sure you have a quarterback. Because that's the number one thing. Quarterbacks are the biggest selling point for any head coach. And the fact that he would get to go into the league and get Justin Herbert, I think Jim Harbaugh would be interested in that. And I do believe, Sam Flannel, if they lose this game against Alabama, he's as good as gone.
That's interesting.
And I do think there's a chance if he wins a natty, he could be gone.
Well, if that happens, then I'm 100% okay with that.
That's just what I think. Like, and based on reports of him being interested, I think this Chargers job is a gold mine, because you walk in and you get Herbert. Now the roster needs some work, of course, but to have Herbert, you have a chance to compete immediately. And he sees his brother John over in Baltimore. Look at the quarterback he has. Might win another MVP. Probably will win another MVP. It's a quarterback league. We had this conversation yesterday. You need a quarterback, and you need a top offense and a middle-of-the-pack defense, and you can compete for Super Bowls. I think Jim is as good as gone this season. I do. I think he's putting up a middle finger to the NCAA, throwing up the double deuces, and he's going to L.A.
Well, I've always said, and this isn't something that I think, but I've always thought that if you're Jim Harbaugh, if you're a guy who kind of has the temperament that he does, I definitely think he's petty. I definitely think that he, feels wronged, whether he's right or wrong. I think that he feels like he's being kind of persecuted at this point. And if I'm Jim Harbaugh, the way that I think that he is, I would probably want to leave Michigan too, because there's just so many headaches with dealing with the NCAA and everything. And at this point, I don't know if it's going to get any better, or if it's just going to keep coming. Pause. If it's just going to be an onslaught of everything with the NCAA. And if you're a coach like Jim Harbaugh, who was a former quarterback, who I'd say he worked with in San Francisco, Alex Smith, actually got some of the best years of his career after he was kind of a bust, and then Colin Kaepernick, you can say what role he had in that, or whether it was like Greg Roman or whatnot. But anywho, the chance of working with Justin Herbert, who would be the most talented quarterback he's ever dealt with by a long shot, I think is enticing. And I know the Chargers are in cap hell. They're probably going to have to get rid of some guys, like Mike Williams, for example, or maybe even, I don't know, Joey Bosa or someone like that. But if you're Jim Harbaugh, you probably are looking at how Brandon Staley has done with this team and think, man, if I were this head coach, they could probably have won 8 or 9 games by now. With a healthy Justin Herbert, of course, but even when he was healthy, the Chargers, I believe, had a losing record. And Brandon Staley, we all know that he is a bad head coach, but there's a lot of exciting pieces on this roster, particularly their quarterback. And like Keenan Allen, I know he's getting a little bit old, but he's having one of the best seasons of his career. Khalil Mack's another one. You thought that he was maybe on the decline, but he is having one of the best seasons of his career. And I think if you're Jim Harbaugh, you think, if I were there, maybe this could be a playoff team. Hell, maybe this could be a division-winning team with how the Chiefs have kind of fallen off. I think, but at the same time, with the cap hell they're in, with the amount of players that I think they're going to have to cut, I don't necessarily know. But the way I think Jim Harbaugh is that he's just had about enough of all the headaches that come along with being in the NCAA, and a lot of those go away when you're in the NFL. I mean, even recruiting, which has nothing to do with like the violations or the sanctions or the NCAA, that's a headache that I'm sure that he doesn't want to have to deal with. And if I'm an NFL team, I don't know if Jim Harbaugh is my first call, because he's a little older and I wonder if the game has passed him by a bit. But if you're Jim Harbaugh, he doesn't think that he can do it. He knows that he can do it because he already has. His tenure with the 49ers was a rousing success. Him and Trent Baalke just kind of war on each other, and the only thing he didn't accomplish was winning a Super Bowl. He was basically one pass to Michael Crabtree, which was incomplete on 4th down, away from winning a Super Bowl. And I'm sure he would like to have that on his resume.
I just think the NFL, he sees what his brother's been doing. He saw the success he's had in his short time in the NFL. And depending on what happens in the playoffs, or I think regardless of what happens, if he wins a natty, if he falls short, I just think, and Jim's a big control guy. I do think, being at Michigan, he has a ton of control over what happens. But the Chargers, they need a GM too.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're bringing in Jim Harbaugh, he could have at least a say in who he wants to bring in as GM, or maybe a perfect pairing. He wasn't able to do that in San Francisco. He got paired with Trent Baalke. It didn't work out. I think it'd be different, and I think the Chargers job he would be interested in. But guess what? He's not focused on that. He's focused on Alabama.
Yeah.
And we'll see what happens. Let's see. Funky says that Chargers gig is meh. I think Chicago makes more sense for Jim. You could be right about that, too. You could be right. I think the overall take is just I think he's going to the NFL.
Well, the Bears
If it's the Bears or the Chargers, he's going to the NFL. I personally think it would be the Chargers because of Justin Herbert. But if you're going to sell me on Caleb Williams, I can see it.
I mean, I think the Bears in a lot of ways are better set up for the future and would be a better job. I've just always said, and I don't think this is the right move, or I'm not saying it's the right move, but I don't know if they fire Eberflus because the defense has actually improved. I mean, especially since Montez Sweat got there and guys like Jalen Johnson emerging and TJ Edwards and Tremaine Edmonds has kind of went from being a free agency bust to he's actually been playing pretty well lately. So I don't know if they fire Eberflus, especially if they finish the season 8-9. I mean, he could sell them on, dude, we won 3 games last year. We improved to 8. Maybe Matt Eberflus isn't that bad. I think Jim Harbaugh would be an upgrade, but I don't know if they fire Eberflus.
All right, let's go to break here. When we get back, we'll do Top 10 Tuesday, but it is Thursday, so it's Top 10 Thursday today. We're switching it up, calling it audible this week. We'll go through our top 10 NFL teams. We'll see where the Lions are ranked today. I'm curious where Sam has them. We'll find out. But first, gotta hear about our friends from Guardian Alarm.
Let Guardian Alarm offer you customized solutions from real experts. Our professional technicians take the time to recommend security and automation solutions specific to your needs. 24/7 professional monitoring. Call us anytime, day or night, and know that a Guardian team member will stay on the phone as long as needed. Technology backed by people. Your safety and security deserves technology that's been proven to work and people have been proven to care. Call 1-800-STAY-OUT. That's 1-800-STAY-OUT. Guardian Alarm, your local security experts.
Now, coming to Woodward Sports, Woodward and Main Street, the Woodward Sports Network Detroit Lions Show. Let's go! Catch Gabrielle D. Phillips, Matt Broder, and Terry Foster for all the latest news on your Detroit Lions every week. Only on the Woodward Sports Network YouTube channel and woodwardsports.com.
At work and at home, we're there with smarter security solutions. Featuring complete automation with customized alerts and more. For over 90 years, we've been the company that's been counted on to protect what matters most, all with personalized service and care. Right now, for a limited time, receive a free video device plus free installation with a new home system. Guardian Alarm. We protect Michigan.
Have you ever wondered where all the finest restaurants get their steaks? It's Fairway Packing Company, providing Michigan restaurants, hotels, and casinos with prime beef for over 60 years. But now you can buy these cuts of meat for yourself at the Steak Shop by Fairway Packing Company. Prime porterhouse, A5 Japanese New York strip steak, dry-aged Wagyu beef tomahawk. Delicious. Get to the Steak Shop today. Enjoy fine wine, have a private party, and get the finest cuts of meat anywhere. The Steak Shop on Mack Avenue in Grosse Pointe Woods, or order online, fairwaypacking.com.
Let me tell you about our friends over at Fairway Packing Co. because for over 60 years, 60 years, Fairway Packing Co. has provided Michigan's finest restaurants, hotels, and casinos with prime beef, Wagyu beef, and dry-aged beef. You can visit their steak shop in Grosse Pointe Woods, or you can order online at fairwaypacking.com. We're back. It's the Morning Woodward Show. Thank you guys for tuning in. We appreciate you on this Thursday. Like I said, tomorrow we'll have another fun one planned for you guys with a special guest. But today it is Top 10 Thursday. You'll go first, Sam Flannel. Let's see your top 10 teams. I'm curious.
Oh, it is I think it is the correct list, but you guys can see for yourselves. At number 10.
Where do you have those Chiefs?
Hey, There we go. At number 10, I have the Rams because, I mean, the way that they've been playing, Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua is about to break records for rookie wide receivers, Kyron Williams at running back, but even their defense. Guys like Aaron Donald have been playing, obviously, as Aaron Donald. You've got Ernest Jones. You've got Byron. You got some of those guys on the no-name defense actually stepping up and playing well, and they're going to be a threat come playoff time, and they might be coming to Detroit, so we shall see about that. They should not be taken lightly. At number 9, I have the Kansas City Chiefs, which is the lowest I've ever had them. Quite frankly, they suck right now. This is the first time that I've ever really been truly worried about them. I don't even know if they'll win a playoff game the way that they've been playing. And what was really disheartening for me as somebody who's a fan of his was Patrick Mahomes pretty much cost you that game with his pick six, as his fumble on that stupid gimmicky play, and then that pick six, and basically back-to-back plays. Then they were never even close after that. Their defense has been good, but it's being wasted by an offense that just can't seem to get out of their own way. I never thought I'd say that about a Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid led Chiefs team. And oh, by the way, Travis Kelce is old and he looks disinterested, and Marquez Valdez-Scantling absolutely sucks, and so does Kadarius Toney. At number 8, I have the Buffalo Bills, a team that could really be climbing higher as the season goes along. Josh Allen has been, I think if Josh Allen finishes this season strong, he could be an MVP candidate. Their defense is obviously very, very good, led by their pass rush and Ed Oliver and the likes. Leonard Floyd. It's been... They stubbed their toe a little bit in the season. Josh Allen has had some turnover problems, but I think they finished this season 11-6 and with an AFC East title. Number 7, Cleveland Browns. Joe Flacco has been, if you could give an MVP award for a stretch in a season, it would obviously go to Joe Flacco, because they were in PJ Walker and Dorian Thompson-Robinson hell, and then straight out of the NFL heavens comes Joe Flacco down, descended upon Cleveland, and has played quarterback position the best a Cleveland Browns quarterback has played it in years. And obviously, Amari Cooper is a great wide receiver. Their defense is led by Myles Garrett and is very, very good. Give me the Browns at 7. 6, Dallas Cowboys. Hey, as I said, it's funny because I mentioned earlier that they have a top 5 offense and defense, at least scoring wise. I think that they're very, very good. I think that they've ran into a little bit of I don't want to say like a schedule opposite of luck. You know, playing at Buffalo and at Miami back-to-back. That's going to be tough, but they should have gotten maybe one of those, especially at Miami.
They just lost to 2 good teams.
They did. They lost to 2 good teams on the road, which is something that they've had problems with, at least this season. I mean, Dak Prescott's having an MVP caliber year. Micah Parsons and Deron Bland are both in contention for Defensive Player of the Year. They're balling out. I think the Cowboys will be fine, but they don't deserve to be ranked any higher than that. 5, I got the Detroit Lions. That was a hell of a win, clinching the division. They're on a 2-game streak where they've been playing very, very well. Their offense has been humming. Their running game has been great. Their passing game has been great. The offensive line's been protecting Jared Goff. The one thing I will say about the Lions, and this is something I don't want to be negative, I really, really don't, but they picked off Nick Mullins 4 times and were a game-winning drive away from potentially losing. I'm not saying that that's the worst thing in the world. I'm just saying right now in this list I have to nitpick a little bit. Number 4, the Eagles. I struggled with whether I should put them over the Lions or not. Their defense has been really, really bad this year, and it seems like it's not just a stretch, it's more of a trend, and I don't necessarily trust it in the playoffs. It's just the way that their offense is. I think Jalen Hurts is better than Jared Goff. I think A.J. Brown is still slightly better than Amon-Ra St. Brown. It's a wash. I would still go with the Eagles slightly, although I didn't feel a lot of confidence in that. Number 3, the Dolphins. Tua Tagovailoa, Tyreek Hill, and Jalen Waddle. The way that they've been playing is just spectacular, particularly Tyreek Hill, who I think should be an MVP candidate. And that defense, they've had a bit of an underrated, I would say, pass rush this season, led by Bradley Chubb and Andrew Van Ginkel, and of course, Christian.
Van Ginkel.
He's having a hell of a year. Don't laugh at Andrew Van Ginkel. That man has been balling. Is he the new Frankie Louvu now? For me, just like a guy
Van
that I like.
Ginkel.
He's a stud.
Imagine getting your girl taken by Van Ginkel.
Well, you will get your girl taken by Van Ginkel. The way that he's been playing this year.
That's
Yes, the Miami Dolphins.
Fair.
That was a really nice win. It showed me a lot with how they beat the Dallas Cowboys and were able to kind of hang with them in the trenches. Even at number 2, the 49ers. And honestly, the 49ers, I still think that they are the best team. I love, obviously, their defensive line, Fred Warner, their offense like CMC, Ayuk, George Kittle, Deebo Samuel. But at the same time, they just took an ass whooping to the Baltimore Ravens. So I have to put the Ravens at number 1. Lamar Jackson, I I still struggle with having him as an MVP, but here's the reality. He's set his career high in passing yards already. He leads the team in rushing yards. He might get 1,000. And that defense, led by Jadeveon Clowney, I predicted a bounce-back season, so I'll give myself a little pat on the back for that. Been a big fan of his. Justin Matabuke in the middle, been absolutely dominant. This defense and this offense, led by Lamar Jackson, and the defense led by the defensive line, the way that they've been playing, you can't not put them at number one, especially picking off Brock Purdy 4 times, and even picking off Sam Darnold a time. 5 interceptions, unbelievable. Give me the Ravens at 1.
Yeah, no, it's cute. It's a cute list.
Cute
now, I'll
list.
show you the right list in a second here. We'll get to mine. Because, Sam, not bad. The people, it's about a 50-50, whether they agree with you. Which is, if you were running for president, wouldn't be ideal. But I'll tell you one thing, though. Put up that list, KG. Here's the right one. There you have it. Look at that. Ravens, 49ers, top 2 teams in the NFL. It's unquestioned. Actually, Dolphins. Those 3 teams. I almost put the Lions over the Dolphins, but I just can't. Because their offense it just doesn't feel real with Tyreek Hill out there. They're hard to stop. I know Jalen Waddle could be out, which advantage Lions, but still, I think the Dolphins, with what they've been doing, they just won't beat the Dallas Cowboys. The Lions have yet to face them. I'm going to give the Dolphins a nod here by just a smidge. Detroit Lions at 4, though. They deserve to be. They're better than the Cowboys, and they're better than the Eagles. They're playing better. And guess what, guys? The Dallas Cowboys, you look at the last couple of games, haven't looked great. They had the lead against the Dolphins. They lost the lead, and then they got smacked in the mouth by the Buffalo Bills. So, of course, they dropped to 5. I have them over the Eagles, though. Eagles look atrocious. Absolutely atrocious. You could go up and say, well, Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown. You look at their they just beat the Giants. They just beat the Giants. They lost the last 3 games before that, and they beat Buffalo by 3 in overtime. So a lot of these games could go either way here. So, again, even to the Bills, they didn't play great. Their defense is still a problem. And again, they're not the Eagles from last year. I think the playing field is a lot more even for the Lions this season. So I have them at 6. At 7, I have the Buffalo Bills because they're playing good football. They struggled. They barely snuck out a win over Easton Stick, but again, they're coming off of a huge win the prior week over the Dallas Cowboys. So I'm going to give them credit for just winning. They're 9-6. Just under them, I have the Los Angeles Rams. Guys, Rams are playing great football. They are. They're hot. And Matthew Stafford's balling. Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, Aaron Donald. The defense is decent. They're putting together, they're stringing together some wins here. But they are better than Cleveland. And I'll tell you why. They beat Cleveland already with Joe Flacco. Actually, they didn't just beat them. They whooped their ass. I think they beat them by 14. Sorry, Joe Flacco. Even though I love you, you're Italian. But they beat them by 14 points. I had to put them over the Browns. Even though the Browns are 10-5, look at who they beat. Look at who they beat. Just saying. Browns are exciting. Kevin Stefanski definitely could win Coach of the Year. But I'm putting the Rams over the Cleveland Browns. And then, of course, your sorry Chiefs at 10. I just felt bad for them, so I put them at 10. I think they deserve to be on here, but they're hanging on by a thread, Sam. They got one pinky on the edge of the cliff there. They're just hanging on. And I almost just stepped right on their pinky and just said, see ya. But I kept them on there because, hey, it's Patrick Mahomes. The defense is playing really well. But the Chiefs fans should be concerned. Oh, absolutely should be concerned. There's my top 10 list. I should say my top 10 list that is absolute correct. And let's get an approval rating on my list. Sam, any takeaways from my list that you didn't like?
I think the Browns are a little bit too low, just with the way that they've been playing with Joe Flacco, with Amari Cooper, with Myles Garrett. But at the same time, I think putting them below the Rams is a little bit. I don't love that, but I can see your logic. The Chiefs. The thing is, I wanna fight for the Chiefs because I'm a Patrick Mahomes guy, and they are my B team. When the Lions aren't good this year, they are good. So, yep. but at the same time, like the during that afternoon when there was no other football on, I got to watch that Chiefs game, and they just looked absolutely morbid. I mean, their offense looked stuck in the mud. They had opportunities to score. I mean, one drive they stalled in the red zone. I mean, Patrick Mahomes threw a pick 6. They try to get too cute sometimes. They just look completely disjointed. So I wouldn't even have a problem if you didn't have them on the list. I mean, I think Lions, Cowboys, Eagles. You know what? When I talked about the Eagles, I was having trouble even justifying them ahead of the Lions at this point. They're just their defense is just. I thought that it was going to be something that would improve, and it just hasn't. They've given up so many big performances, and when they had a chance to play at home against the 49ers, they got their clocks clean. And then they played at Dallas, and one of probably the reasons you have Dallas ahead of them, and they got destroyed. Their one touchdown, even their offense, which has been good, their one touchdown was a Jalen Carter, scoop and score. Which he's definitely going to win Defensive Rookie of the Year. I think it's locked up for Jalen Carter at this point. And by the way, I meant atrocious, not atrocious. That's my bad. I know people are roasting me right now. Atrocious. Sorry, guys. Sorry about that. It was my made-up word, I guess. But regardless, the Lions, I do think they're better than the Cowboys, at least right now. We'll find out this weekend, but they're better than the Cowboys to me, and they're playing better than the Eagles. There is so much, I think, that can be taken away from the game that's about to occur on Saturday. Yeah. I mean, I personally think that you can start talking about Super Bowl. You could even maybe think, is Jared Goff in the MVP conversation? Obviously, on lists like this, the Lions are going to skyrocket and the Cowboys are going to plummet. It's a good measuring stick, so I'm excited. I'm excited about that game. It's one of, I would say, maybe the toughest matchup the Lions will face all year, including even opening day against the Chiefs. Besides the Ravens, they're both road games. Yeah. So I would say the Ravens and the Cowboys are the two toughest games. I thought Kansas City, and I know people would be quick to kind of discredit it now, but they won 6 straight after that win. So the Kansas City Chiefs, that was a good win as well on the road. The 3 toughest games sure are on the road. Yeah. So we're about to find out. They're 1-1 so far. Can they be 2-1? I guess we'll find out. Let's go to break. When we come back, I want KG's thoughts. Or actually, let's just hang out. KG, what do you think of our list? Anything you like or don't like?
Jeff, your list is damn near perfect. I would just swap the Chiefs and the Browns, but like you said, the Chiefs are hanging on by a thread. They could have easily, arguably been out of the top 10 this week just based on that performance. And Sam, how do you not have the Lions in your top 4? They're a division champion. To me, they're better right now than the Cowboys. Of course, we'll shut it up on Saturday and see what's really good. But that's my only critiques. But Jeff nailed it on this one to me. What about you, Kool-Aid?
Nah, same here, man. When I saw the Lions, man, not in the top, I was like, come on, Flannel.
Got to be in the top 4.
Yeah. I want to, give them their due. I think that out of the NFC teams, I think that there's a lot that people think are over them in terms of the Eagles and the 49ers in terms of their skilled players and whatnot. But I don't know. I feel like the Lions are playing the best football of those teams right now. They haven't strung together back-to-back losses yet. Obviously, what they do against the Cowboys, and a lot of people waiting to see what they're going to do there to be able to see if they can kind of move them up a tick into that top. But I don't know. I think if it's a power ranking, I think that they deserve to be in that top 4.
I agree. Lions are playing good football.
Division champion, baby.
That was one that I had. I kind of wrestled with a little bit. I don't hate you guys for having that opinion. The only thing I will say about the Eagles, it's funny because your stock response is to say that their defense is better, but it's really not by the numbers. Their defense has been bad as well. I just think, as a whole, the Eagles have slightly better skill position players. I think A.J. Brown's still better than Amon-Ra. Devontae Smith is obviously the better number 2 than anything that the Lions have. And obviously DeAndre Swift, he's not as good as Gibbs and Montgomery, but Swift is having a good year. And I also like to take into account that the Lions don't have to face the 49ers. The Eagles did. They obviously got killed. And they have to face the Cowboys twice. The Lions once. So I'm taking that into consideration as well. But if I could redo the list, I'd consider putting the Lions ahead of the Eagles.
You'd consider.
I'd consider. That was a tough one. In real time, I was having a hard time justifying it. I kind of did some but I think you could justify either.
At least we got it. I'll consider. Yeah. I'll take that. All right, let's go to break. We come back. We'll get in the mailbag, and then we'll close out the show here. Get your questions ready, whatever they may be. My goodness. If you want to ask about the Pistons, or let's talk about the Lions, preferably, or even the Red Wings in the losing skid. They're on 2-8 over the last 10. Damn it, Pistons, I blame you. I blame you for everything. I don't know why, but I do. Let's go to break. When we come back, we'll get into that. But first, we got to hear about our friends from Dispo. I might be smoking Dispo by saying atrocious, honestly.
Hey,
it's atrocious.
You know what? When you say as many words as we do, you're down to make a mistake every once in a while. I didn't even notice it. The experience of Dispo Christmas Extravaganza. The Dispo difference this Christmas season. Dispo's giving away a TV as well as 2 $100 in-store gift cards per week at participating locations for the month of December. Nobody does it like the Dispo family. Unwrap the joy of Dispo Dispensary every week. Join them in celebrating for the holidays. See store for more details. Dispo Dispensary, disposhops.com, your local cannabis plug.
Brace yourselves, Detroit. As the sun begins to set, two of Woodward Sports' brightest young stars will be taking the mic for a brand new show. Woodward Nights with Spooner and Broder. The dog days in Detroit are over, and the boys are unleashed. Join in on the banter and hop on the bandwagon of the #1 night show on the internet. Tune into the Woodward Sports YouTube channel every weeknight from 8 to 10 p.m. Woodward Nights with Spooner and Broder. Join Woodward Sports' own Jeff Iafrate, along with special WSN guests for the most anticipated Lions season in decades. Filled with different surprises and expert analysis. You're not going to want to miss out. Go to our Woodward Sports YouTube channel on Sundays and tune in live from 9:30 to 11:30 a.m.
Where's the most convenient place to get that big fitness energy? It's Planet Fitness. Join today for just $1 down, $10 a month. With over 2,400 locations and equipment for every workout, you can get in, get energized, and get going. And with free fitness training and most clubs open 24 hours, everyone belongs in the judgment-free zone. So join today for $1 down, $10 a month, no commitment, cancel anytime.
Dreaming of a new home but feeling the financial pinch? Mark White & Associates, your trusted real estate experts, are here to help. Mark White and his team will pay up to $5,000 of your closing costs. That's right, I said $5,000. Call Mark White & Associates today at 248-290-8242 or visit them at markwhitesales.com. Again, call Mark White today at 248-290-8242 to make your dreams come true.
We're back. It's the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. Let's get into mailbag. And we'll see what we got here. First question we got, Eduardo. Jeff, you mentioned who has Cleveland beaten. Cleveland has wins over San Francisco, Baltimore, 10-plus wins. Meanwhile, who has Detroit beaten? An 8-win Tampa team, a 9-win KC team. They have better wins. And throughout the season, you are correct, Eduardo. I was talking more specifically about Joe Flacco, his tenure there, at least the handful of games we've gotten out of Joe. They have a big win, I guess you could say, on paper over Jacksonville. Like Trevor Lawrence, I was high on the Jags, but they've beaten a backup quarterback at Houston. They beat Chicago. They lost to the Rams. They lost to Denver. And, of course, they barely beat the Steelers. But he is correct. They have two huge wins.
Oh, yeah.
They beat the Ravens and they beat the 49ers.
Yes. And
but that was earlier in the season, of course.
I want to read one that I came across earlier. It's from one funky Lions fan who I actually I gave some flack to, but I think this is an interesting one. If Goff is in the MVP conversation, where is Dak? Dak has more TDs, fewer picks, and a better completion percentage, all while having a worse O-line and worse weapons. And for the record, one funky Lions fan, I have been driving the Dak is in the MVP conversation train for a couple of weeks now. And I think this weekend, I know that they could both play well, but I think whichever team wins, their quarterback will vault in the race, and the team who loses, especially if it's the Cowboys and your team has 6 losses, it's kind of tough to justify it. But Dak Prescott is absolutely in the MVP conversation, and he will stay in it as long as they beat the Lions this Saturday, which I certainly hope doesn't happen.
I think Jared Goff at this point is like plus 1,000 something.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I mean, if you want to sprinkle a couple dollars on that, go ahead. We'll see. Depending on how he plays this weekend, it could rise.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Let's see. Vincent says, mailbag, who from WSN would you like to see in an oiled up wrestling match? Jesus, what are we? Okay, hold on.
Hey, yo.
What? No, we're gonna move on from that one. I don't. Yeah, we're gonna hard pass that one.
Yeah. Maybe Lady James, but not WSN.
Yeah, I know.
KG's the #1 draft pick.
Damn right.
Yeah, KG, he's yeah, KG's a dog, but listen, no one from WSN, no man on man action. We're not doing that.
No sausage parties.
No sausage parties. That is fair. Let's see. Steve and David, mailbag, does Jeff whisper atrocious in his girl's ear before laying it down?
Hey!
Atrocious.
You know you do. You know you do.
That's where I got it from, to be honest with you.
That's atrocious.
Let's see. Tony D said Browns are beat up right now. 8 starters out. Nick says if Goff balls out the last 2, he will be in the conversation. Mike G says, mail sack, can we get a segment where Lucas calls in and just talks junk? And have Pitbull playing in the background. Well, for copyright purposes, maybe not Pitbull, even though, hey, Pitbull makes very fine music. He's a good musician. But we can have Pitbull playing, but we can't have Lucas calling. Maybe we'll have him on soon. Let's see. Jesse Adams, mailbag, on a scale from 1 to 10, how should I feel about the Lions winning 13 games? I bet the over live 12.5 wins after the comeback versus the Bears. I'm at like 6.5 thinking we can beat this bet. We can win this bet. I actually I like that. I wonder what the odds were though, Jesse, on that. I don't know if you could put those in, but 13 wins, yeah. I mean, they just got to win the next 2 games, which I think is very possible. I think they'll win the last game at home versus Minnesota, but this Dallas game is really what it comes down to.
6.5, I think, is a pretty good confidence scale. I would probably say anywhere between 5 and 7 is about where I'm at. Jesse, I'm sure you were inconsolable, though, after the Lions lost to the Packers on Thanksgiving. I'm sure you thought that was a gimme in terms of winning your bet. And we were all inconsolable, but damn, that must have really hurt for you. I bet you thought that it was just going to be a breeze. But hopefully, I mean, Dallas, they've shown vulnerabilities, especially on their run defense, and the Lions run the ball better than anyone. And obviously the Minnesota Vikings, and now they're going to be missing TJ Hawkinson and DJ Wanham as well. I could definitely see them winning out and winning 13.
It Hip says, mailbag to the Lions, lock up St. Brown and Sewell this offseason. I mean, I don't mind. The quicker you get those deals done, I have no issue with that. I think those 2 players are probably the easiest decisions to me.
Yeah. Those are
St. Brown and Panay. That's a no-brainer.
Name your price.
Perennial all
Name
pros.
your length too. Like if you want to give them 7, 10 years, I don't give a damn.
Yeah.
I don't care about the length of the contract. I don't care about how much money you pay them. I don't. Those guys need to be a part of the future. Jesse says it was plus 105. Oh, then you know what? Yeah, why not? Why not? Bada bing, bada boom, mailbag is Jeff Adam Sandler's character from Uncut Gems. It's actually a good movie, by the way. He's got curly hair, but hey, you know what? Why not? Adam Sandler's he's a great actor.
Oh,
he's funny.
He's a great actor.
So I don't mind mind being compared to Adam
You're
Sandler.
not putting your life on the Celtics bet, though, are you?
No.
Yeah.
No, I'm not.
You canceled the bet?
Yeah, no, you are correct there.
The end of that movie is great.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Don Beats says, y'all horny as hell in the sports chat.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. Funky says Sewell and St. Brown sounds like $50 million a year. Yeah, you probably that's about right for those
Penny
2.
Sewell, and I've heard Spencer Raxter from the esteemed Spencer Raxter from Big D Energy and Woodward Heavyweights say that Penny Sewell is going to be the highest paid offensive lineman in the history of the NFL, and it's like, yeah. I mean, of course he is, especially with the way that like wages keep going up in the scale and the way that Penei Sewell has played. That's absolutely going to be the case.
Jesse Adams, mailbag. Well, first, Vincent, mailbag. Can we get more likes on the stream? Yeah, Vincent, I'm with you. So if you
those likes up.
Yeah, if you haven't liked the stream for us, Jesse says, "Hey Jeff, any thoughts on how Tom Gore said this team has flexibility? ? Exclamation point. They have no picks. Exclamation point. Exclamation point. Exclamation point. Our picks are going to the Knicks. Period." Let's trust Troy, though, right? Answer it. Well, I'm answering it.
Answer me.
I think flexibility, I think when people think of that, or when Tom says that, it's more about the money. The money. In flexibility, when you first hear it, it means you have many different options available because you have money. You have a ton of cap space. It's trading for a star, maybe taking on assets to take on bad contracts. There's a lot of different ways that Troy could approach this. So that's what he means by flexibility.
And they can trade the draft pick once they get to the draft. Once it conveys to the Pistons, they can pick a player and trade that player immediately, which is what we're hearing might happen.
Because it is top 15 protected, 18th. So yes, once it's converted and it's officially the Pistons pick, they could trade it. So that's what he means by flexibility. Just explaining it for you, Jesse. You say I don't answer your questions. I just answered it. Don Beats his mailbag. If I don't tap into tomorrow, Happy New Year to all the Woodward gang. We appreciate you, Don Beats, for you, man. Just staying true, just supporting the show and the network. Much love and Happy New Year. Detroit Supremacy says Broncos country. Let's ride. Okay. That's easy. Crazy Clown Panay Sewell looks and moves like a 225-pound guy, yet he's 335. Yeah, that's
facts.
John Lord says mailbag, who is the superstar at Woodward, Booner or Hollywood? Ooh. Yeah, Booner can have it. I'm a selfless guy. I don't need to be a superstar. I love what I do. I love Booner, and he's my boy. So you know what? He was on Amon-Ra St. Brown's Instagram page. That's one over me.
But he doesn't have a private jet.
That's fair. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, you know what? F you, Booner. It's me. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm happy for Booner, man. He deserves that guy, man. I love that guy.
Shout out Booner, man.
That's my boy.
Shout out.
All right, let's get out of here, guys. We appreciate all the questions. We're going to stop here. Tomorrow, don't forget, Mike will be joining the show. We'll preview the Lions game, preview Michigan, Alabama. It's going to be such a packed show. Jesse says, still defending Tom, I see. Okay. See, I explained what Tom says, and I'm still defending him. Jesse, I guess. Take it for what you wish. See you guys. We'll see you tomorrow. Don't forget, like I said, Pack Show tomorrow. Have a blessed rest of your day. And, of course, don't forget the rest of the shows here on Woodward Sports. Big D Energy, Ermanni Networks with Maz, the Heavyweights, Woodward Knights. Check it all out. Great, great programs. Until tomorrow, deuces. We'll see you.
Love you, JB.